Chapter 957. The soul-returning beast was a very rare meta-beast. In ancient times, the soul-returning beast was extremely good at hiding itself. Moreover, the soul-returning beast loved to devour souls. Hence, many meta-beasts avoided the soul-returning beast. However, the soul-returning beast's attack power was not very strong. Therefore, it would only appear when some meta-beasts were about to die. The soul-returning beast was also known as the soul-devouring beast. It was something that meta-beasts did not want to see the most because the appearance of the soul-returning beast meant that they were about to die. Moreover, their souls would be devoured by this strange thing. Li Zongjiu was now waiting for the other party to release the soul-returning beast. It just so happens that my current spiritual realm is still slightly lacking. The corner of Li Zongjiu's mouth rose slightly and he restrained his spiritual strength. It seemed that he was in an extremely weak state. In the main hall, the three red-robed bishops who had been observing the array for many days were also paying close attention to Li Zongjiu's condition. Only Li Zongjiu was left. They must subdue Li Zongjiu. How is the soul-returning beast? Not bad. It has recovered about 90%. There's no time. Li Zongjiu is now weak. Let's do it. This time, we must not fail. The leader of the group said in a deep voice. The rest of the group nodded in agreement. Their expressions were especially solemn. What happened outside had nothing to do with the three of them. The three of them only needed to complete the mission. As for some troublesome problems, it had nothing to do with them and they did not need to intervene. However, if they could not deal with Li Zongjiu, it would be their problem. The three of them released the soul-returning beast again. Above Li Zongjiu's head, the 8th-division heavenly dragon was still releasing its power. However, to Li Zongjiu, this power was only considered average. Li Zongjiu estimated that as long as his spiritual strength reached the 5th stage Meta-Emperor realm, he would be able to surpass the limits of this thing. In my previous life, it would rather die than let me in. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. He was probably afraid that he would discover the spirit beast. After all, it was a treasure. Once caught, it could be used to increase one's mental strength. There was only one day left. Finally, after a long wait, those people finally moved. A huge figure appeared and slowly descended, swimming towards Li Zongjiu. Originally, Li Zongjiu should have been completely focused on the soul beast, but just as it was about to open its mouth and bite Li Zongjiu noticed something. When Li Zongjiu was completely plunged into the darkness, Li Zongjiu's eyes lit up. Suddenly, a huge figure formed from spiritual energy appeared. It reached out and grabbed the soul beast. He couldn't move. The enormous mental strength was like a tyrannical pressure that pressed down on the soul-returning beast. The ancient soul-returning beast kept twisting its body, but there was no way for it to break free. Not good. Li Zongjiu noticed it. Quick! Disperse his mental strength. It wasn't so easy to resist their methods in this array formation. Immediately, one of them mobilized the 8 Dharma Laksana and crushed Li Zongjiu's mental strength at the same time. Almost in an instant, Li Zongjiu's mental strength was shattered. At that time, he would not have enough strength to control the soul-returning beast. In a situation where he could not resist, the soul-returning beast would directly capture Li Zongjiu's spiritual energy. However, when the 8 Dharma Laksana attacked Li Zongjiu together, there seemed to be a huge white figure emerging from Li Zongjiu's mental strength. As the figure surged, it directly crushed 4 of the 8 Dharma Laksana. As for the other 4, after Li Zongjiu formed a seal with his hands, a bright golden palm print instantly slapped them to death. Boom! This kid actually broke the array. When the red-robed bishop saw this scene, he directly opened his mouth wide. He was extremely shocked by the scene that appeared in front of him. One should know that this spirit-tempering tower was personally set up by a saint master of their sanctum. It had the effect of tempering and strengthening people in the Origin Emperor realm. It was simply impossible to break the array, even if an Origin Emperor realm expert came. However, Li Zongjiu did it. He smashed the 8th Division Heavenly Dragon Dharma idol in front of him. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Li Zongjiu's mental strength instantly surged out, and at this moment, the figure of his spiritual doppelganger instantly skyrocketed, almost reaching a state of 100 feet. As his hands closed, he suppressed the soul-returning beast in his hands. The soul-returning beast struggled to no avail, and in the end, it was invaded by Li Zongjiu's mental strength. Being planted with a slave contract, you are really pitiful. Li Zongjiu did not hesitate and directly erased the power of the contract. Although the owner of this contract was very likely to be a sovereign realm expert, Li Zongjiu was not afraid. The mental strength of a sovereign realm expert covered too many things. If it was not for the fact that he followed the soul-returning beast all day long, he would not have known the situation of this ancient soul-returning beast so quickly. Moreover, whether this contract was set by a sovereign realm expert was still unknown. Oh no, the power of the contract was erased by that kid. The face of the leading red-robed cardinal changed dramatically. What was this kid trying to do? Not only did he capture the soul-returning beast, but he also directly removed the contract on the soul-returning beast. The next step, of course, was to sign a contract with the soul-returning beast. What? How is this possible? The 8th Dharma Laksana is no match for this kid at all. This guy is pretending to be weak. The other cardinal was so angry that his body trembled directly. Li Zongjiu's strength was too terrifying, and he hid it so well. For them, this was not a good thing. Li Zongjiu in front of them must be trying to take away the soul-returning beast. Who was this guy? How did he know about the existence of the soul-returning beast? Li Zongjiu seemed to be hibernating from the beginning. Now, he wanted to seize Li Zongjiu's soul power. Generally, Black Canal Basilica was more careful and would not directly take away all the souls. Instead, it would leave a part of it in the body. This way, it would not be discovered by others. When Li Zongjiu returned, his behavior would become strange and he would become more dull. However, to outsiders, it could also be said that he was injured during cultivation and only needed to rest for a few years. Later, it would find a chance to get rid of this guy, and everything would be fine. Black Canal Basilica had always done this, and there had never been any problems. However, when facing Li Zongjiu this time, it felt that it was being led by the nose by Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was the one who was playing tricks. Chapter 958. Li Zongjiu knocked the soul beast unconscious and threw it into the spiritual hell. It was as if he had taken control of the soul beast. It just so happened that the time had come. The surrounding array immediately sent Li Zongjiu out. Li Zongjiu landed in front of the gate of the temple tower. There was no one else around. When they saw Li Zongjiu leave the array, the 3 cardinals immediately knew what was going on. The 3 red-robed cardinals were already thinking that things were not going well. The other party's timing was even more accurate than theirs. Most importantly, the soul beast had disappeared. It was impossible for Li Zongjiu to take the soul beast away. After all, the soul beast would not disappear into thin air unless it was dead. Could it be that Li Zongjiu killed the soul beast? This thought flashed through the minds of the 3 cardinals. Could it be that the precious soul-returning beast was killed just like that? What should we do now? Such a thing had never happened before. If they directly sent people to capture Li Zongjiu, wouldn't they be exposed directly? According to the current policy of the Black Canal Basilica, they should directly rush out and stop him. This was unwise. It's still unclear whether this guy knows about the soul-returning beast or not. Let's stabilize the situation first and then send someone to follow him. If we find that the soul-returning beast is really on him, we'll kill him and bring the soul-returning beast back. The leading cardinal said. Now, not only did they fail to absorb the soul, but they also lost the soul beast. This was a great sin for them. Fortunately, the three of them still had some say in the sacred hall, so this matter could be temporarily delayed. But if it dragged on for too long, sooner or later, something would go wrong. We must be foolproof. The soul beast must be with him. Wait until he leaves here, then we'll take action. Let Wu Xie go. Meng Qing also went to carry out a mission. After she completes her mission, let her go with Wu Xie. The Black Canal Basilica was silent for a while. Li Zongjiu originally thought that the people of the Black Canal Basilica would appear and stop Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu had taken away the soul beast. This thing was not simple. If one was taken away, it would not be easy to find the next one. It was estimated that this was the only one left in the entire continent. With the hammer in his hand, Li Zongjiu was not sure what kind of experts would rush out. But after waiting for a while, he found that the people of the Black Canal Basilica did not move at all. Li Zongjiu was puzzled. But these people did not intend to attack Li Zongjiu, which saved Li Zongjiu a lot of trouble. Otherwise, if they fought later, it would not look good for everyone. Li Zongjiu might go on a killing spree in the Haiku dynasty again. Li Zongjiu turned and left the tower. Brother Li, why haven't I seen Miss Ling Yan? Mu Qingmiu came from afar, but found that Ling Yan was not with Li Zongjiu. These days, the people of the Black Canal Basilica refused to let him leave. Today was the 7th day, so he came to find Li Zongjiu. But he did not expect that Ling Yan was not with Li Zongjiu. It was not that Mu Qingmiu was interested in Ling Yan, but he felt that these people were strange. The intuition of an expert was so sharp. She didn't show up. Li Zongjiu looked at Mu Qingmiu. Mu Qingmiu's eyes turned cold. He seemed to have realized that something was wrong. In the next moment, Li Zongjiu's mind power immediately spread out in the city. If he could not find her in the city, then the entire Black Canal Basilica would be bathed in blood today. Li Zongjiu and Ling Yan were not blood-related. But at least Li Zongjiu and Ling Yan came from the same dynasty. Now, such a thing happened in the same dynasty. She dared to attack Li Zongjiu's friend under Li Zongjiu's nose. Then he would let these people see the real strength of the evil lord. Soon, Li Zongjiu's domineering mind power alarmed many experts. These people were surprised that the mind power released by Li Zongjiu was so strong. At the same time, they were also guessing who the expert was to use his mind power to investigate the situation in the city so unscrupulously. When many people felt that the source of the mind power was from Black Canal Basilica, they stopped probing and searching. It turned out that it was the big shots of Black Canal Basilica. Of course, it was not good to be calculative with them. Otherwise, they would definitely be held accountable, or even directly make things difficult for them. Found her. Li Zongjiu's mind power instantly locked onto a figure. Immediately, his figure flashed and directly chased in this direction. At this moment, in a desolate mountain range within the city, Ling Yan held onto his injured shoulder as his figure rapidly flew away. Behind him, there was a figure slowly chasing after him. From the looks of it, it was as though an eagle in the sky was teasing a rabbit. Hee, I thought you had some great ability to let me play for a longer time. Now, it seems that you are just as so. The person chasing after Ling Yan was Meng Qing. It had to be said that Ling Yan was really patient. He actually waited until today to show himself. If it wasn't for Meng Qing's speed, Ling Yan would have found Zhou Zheng, Chu Tai Ran and the others. She was dressed in white, without any dust or blood on her body. She was not in a hurry to kill Ling Yan. She liked to see the dying people struggling before death. The more they struggled, the happier she was. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of his ability to kill people? Seeing that Ling Yan seemed to have recovered some strength, Meng Qing stretched out her hand and waved. Suddenly, 2 darts directly hit Ling Yan's legs. Bang! Ling Yan's figure fell to the ground, struggling to get up. If you kill me, the Shen Yan dynasty will not let you go. Ling Yan had already stopped running and gave up struggling. He turned his head and looked at Meng Qing with a cold smile. Even if he, Ling Yan, was going to drag someone down with him. Whoosh! A dart directly hit the meridians in Ling Yan's hand. Bang! A talisman stone in Ling Yan's hand fell to the ground. This talisman stone could be considered as Ling Yan's protective item, but he did not expect it to be unable to escape Meng Qing's eyes. In terms of methods, I have seen tens of thousands of times more than you. You want to trick me with this little trick of yours? Meng Qing's lips curled into a cold smile. In order to cultivate her abilities, she had suffered countless hardships. Thus, Meng Qing was determined to make these people feel the same kind of pain. It wasn't an easy task to steal another person's talent. The fusion process was extremely difficult and torturous. Since you have already given up struggling, then die. Then, Meng Qing also slowly raised her hand. Immediately, a ray of light shot out from Meng Qing's back. Ling Yan opened his eyes wide when he saw this scene. This bolt of lightning came at just the right time. Boom! Chapter 959. A surge of lightning suddenly appeared behind Meng Qing. Meng Qing also felt the movement behind her. She didn't need to look back. She directly raised her hand and slashed behind her. Although this palm strike was hurried, its power was extremely fierce and overbearing. Boom! When the two of them collided, Meng Qing immediately felt a terrifying power spread through her body. She immediately shot off into the distance. Whoosh! Meng Qing suffered a loss. Her body flew quite a distance before she was able to disperse the force. Who is it? Meng Qing's body stopped in the air. She waved her hand and a storm swept forward. Even when she paused, she didn't let go of the opportunity. The storm swept towards Ling Yan. However, before this power could reach Ling Yan, it was blocked by a figure. Boom! The storm dispersed. Ling Yan opened his eyes in the sandstorm. When he saw the figure in front of him, a drop of hot tears welled up in his eyes. Are you alright? Li Zongjiu turned around and looked at Ling Yan. Look at me. Do I look alright? Ling Yan was touched by Li Zongjiu's appearance. He rolled his eyes at the latter. You came just in time. If you came a little later, you would have to collect Ling Yan's corpse. Li Zongjiu looked at him seriously. At least his arms and legs were still there. He didn't lose anything. It's good that you're alright. Hurry up and treat your injuries. Li Zongjiu said. Ling Yan didn't hesitate. Since Li Zongjiu was here, it was basically foolproof. If something really happened in the end, it could be considered a loss. Ling Yan immediately swallowed a pill. The darts and other weapons that Meng Qing had thrown out were also poisoned. Moreover, the effect of the poison wasn't instant death. During the process, Ling Yan had been enduring great pain. However, in front of the enemy, he didn't show any signs of pain. Now that he had a chance, he immediately swallowed a pill and circulated his yuan power to stabilize his strength. Who? Li Zongjiu looked at the person who had just attacked. Meng Qing's eyes were cold as she looked at Li Zongjiu. Just now, Li Zongjiu's attack had been extremely powerful, which shocked Meng Qing. You must be Li Zongjiu. Meng Qing raised her chin slightly and looked at Li Zongjiu with a hint of provocation in her eyes. He had heard that an incredible genius had come from the Shengyan dynasty and had easily defeated Long Xian and Mu Qingmiu. Coincidentally, Meng Qing was also a prodigy. Since the two of them were both geniuses, then there was bound to be a difference between them. Thus, Meng Qing had long since wanted to see just what kind of genius Li Zongjiu was. I am. Li Zongjiu nodded and said. You don't need to tell me your name because you must die today. If you want revenge, then come back in your next life. Li Zongjiu's tone was calm. Those who didn't know would think that he was joking. Even Meng Qing only treated Li Zongjiu's words as a joke. Then I want to see just what kind of ability you have to kill me. Since she had already said so, there was no need to hide her killing intent. Meng Qing's hand shook and a wave of energy surged out. A soft sword appeared in Meng Qing's hand. The soft sword glowed with purple light. As it moved, there seemed to be a flexible force that cut through the surrounding air. Then, Meng Qing's figure paused in the void. In the blink of an eye, 3 figures appeared. Whoosh! The 3 figures directly rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu didn't hesitate to face the 3 figures. He directly swung the hammer in his hand. Boom! Overbearing lightning immediately filled the entire space. Figures in the surroundings immediately collapsed one after another. Even Meng Qing herself was directly knocked out of the void by the power of the lightning. You were actually able to discover my hidden figure. The power of your weapon isn't weak. Meng Qing's move was broken. The 3 figures were actually a smokescreen. The real body was hidden in the dark, ready to attack at any time. However, they were forced out by Li Zongjiu. When the figure appeared, Li Zongjiu wouldn't give his opponent any time to breathe. The demonic hammer in his hand pointed at the sky, and a bolt of purple divine lightning descended. Purple divine lightning. Meng Qing's eyes widened when she saw the lightning appear. Her body seemed to be locked in place, and she couldn't move. However, Meng Qing also struggled at the most critical moment. Whoosh! Boom! The divine lightning landed beside Meng Qing, but even so, Meng Qing was heavily injured by the explosion. Cough cough cough. You can actually summon the purple divine lightning. I can also summon your father. Li Zongjiu sneered, ignoring Meng Qing's surprise. However, Meng Qing already knew that Li Zongjiu's ability wasn't something she could resist. Immediately, Meng Qing stood up angrily and threw a dozen darts in Li Zongjiu's direction. In the face of these darts, Li Zongjiu reached out his hand and caught all of them in his hand. The physical body of an origin emperor wasn't something that could be broken so easily. Not to mention the bones and tendons in the body, even the skin and flesh on the outside were not something that these people could damage. Go! Li Zongjiu flipped his hand and threw the darts back. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Several darts hit Meng Qing's body, penetrating her internal organs. One of the darts even hit Meng Qing's spine. Boom! Meng Qing's body fell from a high place. Li Zongjiu could see that Meng Qing's body fell into a river. Ling Yan wanted to continue the chase, but the poison in his body attacked his heart. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his body was in extreme pain. Obviously, there was no way to force the poison out with his own strength. Li Zongjiu arrived behind Ling Yan and placed his palm on the latter's shoulder. As this tyrannical and ferocious energy entered Ling Yan's body, Ling Yan gradually stabilized the injuries in his body and slowly forced out the poison. Thank you for your help. Otherwise, I don't know how long the poison in my body would have bothered me. Although Ling Yan's face was pale, there was a hint of redness. He only needed to recuperate a little and he would be able to return to his original state. My fee is, hearing that Li Zongjiu wanted to talk about money, Ling Yan immediately changed the topic. What about the woman just now? Is she dead? Ling Yan quickly asked. Let's go. This person can't be left alive. I said I would kill her, so I must kill her. Li Zongjiu had always been a man of his word. If there was an exception once, there would definitely be a second exception. Therefore, keeping his word was Li Zongjiu's life creed. Go after her. Ling Yan had at most recovered some of his injuries, but he was still a little lacking if he wanted to make a move. Thinking about how this woman had chased him so miserably, Ling Yan naturally felt the urge to take revenge. Let's go. You actually dared to chase this old lady for so long. This time, the wheel of fortune has turned. It's finally my turn. Ling Yan immediately felt a sense of exaltation, and his entire body became spirited. Although Meng Qing had fallen into the river and her aura was concealed, her injuries were serious and she needed to be treated as soon as possible. Therefore, Meng Qing immediately sent out a distress signal. After reaching the shore, Meng Qing moved her body onto a rock with great difficulty, ensuring that she wouldn't be washed away by the river again. This Li Zongjiu must not be left alive. Too terrifying, his strength is too terrifying. Meng Qing had always been very confident. Because she was someone chosen by the temple to pave the way for the future growth of the temple. Therefore, people like Meng Qing were all first-rate talents, future pillars of the temple. I didn't expect to lose so miserably. Meng Qing didn't dare to believe it. In front of Li Zongjiu, Meng Qing felt that she was just a child, not a threat at all. Her snow-white clothes were stained with blood. After soaking in the water for a while, it looked even brighter. You still have the mood to sunbathe here. Just as Meng Qing was about to fall asleep, she suddenly heard a voice. When she opened her eyes again, she saw Li Zongjiu and Ling Yan appear in front of her. She didn't expect Li Zongjiu to catch up again. Chapter 960. Just now, Meng Qing had let out a sigh of relief. Being able to escape from Li Zongjiu's hands was already a very lucky thing. She didn't expect that Li Zongjiu would actually chase after her. He was truly persevering. You. What do you want? When Meng Qing saw the two of them, her expression changed into one of fear. Li Zongjiu, tell me, how do we kill this woman? Ling Yan could be said to be gnashing his teeth at Meng Qing. He couldn't wait to slaughter her. Meng Qing had wanted to kill him just a moment ago. Naturally, Ling Yan wouldn't show any mercy to her. The best way to deal with an enemy was to directly kill her ancestors. Just nice, let's test out my new pet. Li Zongjiu saw that Meng Qing was on the verge of death. If no one came to save her, she would definitely die. At this moment, Meng Qing didn't have any ability to escape. She could only lie on the rock and let the two of them slaughter her. Oh. Ling Yan looked at Li Zongjiu curiously. He didn't expect Li Zongjiu to be such a perverted person. He actually liked to do this kind of thing. Using a pet to deal with a beauty, tsk. After that, Li Zongjiu summoned the soul beast in front of Meng Qing. When Ling Yan saw the soul beast, he felt a sense of familiarity. However, he didn't recognize the soul beast in front of him. This thing, it looks so familiar. Ling Yan said in surprise. When Meng Qing saw the soul beast, her eyes were filled with fear. It was as if she had seen a ghost. How is this possible? Soul beast. Meng Qing used the last of her strength and screamed. Then, the soul beast in Li Zongjiu's hand directly swallowed Meng Qing's soul. Then, the soul beast returned to the spiritual hell. Once the soul-returning beast digested Meng Qing's spiritual energy, it would form a wave of energy and return to Li Zongjiu's body, helping Li Zongjiu strengthen his spiritual energy. When mental energy was in the body, it was called mental energy. If it left the body, it would become an independent soul. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had to be strong enough to ensure that his soul was indestructible. You should have seen this thing before. It was this thing that wanted to eat you in the cultivation temple. Li Zongjiu looked at Ling Yan and said. Ling Yan didn't need to say it himself. Li Zongjiu also knew what Ling Yan had experienced inside. It's actually him. Call it out, I'm going to beat him up. It almost ate me. When Ling Yan heard about this soul beast, he couldn't help but want to fight 300 rounds with this soul beast. He wanted to determine the winner and loser. Alright, I've already turned over a new leaf. Li Zongjiu advised. Her storage ring, I'll give it to you. He was talking about Meng Qing's storage ring. Ling Yan naturally took off Meng Qing's storage ring happily. The cost of this storage ring was not simple. Just the gem on the top was already very expensive. What are you doing? I only said that the storage ring is yours, but you have to give me all the temptations inside. Li Zongjiu saw Ling Yan's happy expression and directly poured a bucket of cold water on his head. You. Ling Yan thought that Li Zongjiu was just teasing him, but looking at Li Zongjiu's serious expression, he knew that Li Zongjiu was serious, and very serious. What a stingy guy. However, in the process of dividing the loot, Ling Yan also relied on her beauty to snatch a few treasures, but those treasures were just trash in Li Zongjiu's eyes. Some primordial stones were more practical. It was morning when they came out of the Black Canal Basilica. After knowing that the loot was divided, it was afternoon. Li Zongjiu and Ling Yan returned to the Wind and Moon Hotel together. When the two returned, Su Sha was already waiting for them there. In the past few days, everyone in the team had been very busy. After all, after their reputation spread out, the number of people who wanted to make friends with them naturally increased. Nan Peixian was a busy man. Although he did not contribute much in the process, Nan Peixuan's own strength, coupled with such a big tree behind him, naturally there were people who came to invite him. Moreover, Nan Peixian himself seemed to be at ease in such an occasion. You're finally back. Su Sha came in front of the two and said. Huh? Where's Qi Yanran? Li Zongjiu glanced around and did not see Qi Yanran in the inn. According to common sense, Qi Yanran should be waiting for him here. Let's walk and talk, Yang Qi said. Yanran and the others are all at the banquet. The Vice Seclord received an invitation to a very powerful person in the Black Canal dynasty. He's hosting a banquet in his courtyard, and has invited people from our two dynasties. Su Sha said. I almost died, and they still have the face to invite us to dinner. At the mention of the He Chu dynasty, Ling Yan clenched her teeth in anger. These people almost took her life, and now they did such a thing again. She couldn't wait to smash their place to pieces. What's wrong? Su Sha looked at the angry Ling Yan and asked. Nothing. I'll settle this account sooner or later. Ling Yan said. Even if she said it now, it would be useless. The other party would not admit it at all. Therefore, Ling Yan herself was also a smart person. She did not put this matter on the table. Otherwise, if she was forced to a corner and they really shed all pretense of cordiality, she estimated that this group of people would not be able to walk out of the Haiku dynasty. This very powerful person, what's his background? Since Yanran was at the banquet, Li Zongjiu had to go to the banquet. Well, I just saw the name on the invitation. The name is Wan Yonggong, and the place is called Marquis Wanyong's mansion. Oh. Wan Yonggong. Li Zongjiu tried to recall the role of Wan Yonggong in his mind. After all, the gap was a bit big. If it was not directly related to him in the past, Li Zongjiu generally would not be able to recall it. The three of them walked towards Marquis Wanyong's mansion. At the riverside, a figure descended from the sky and came to the side of a huge rock. When he saw the corpse lying on the huge rock, it was already in an ice-cold state. Obviously, it had been dead for a while. The person who came was a tall and handsome man. Between his brows, there was a dignified and evil feeling. This person was called Wu Xie. He was one of the 5 seated geniuses of the Black River Pill Hall. Now, among the 5 seated geniuses, 2 had already died. Jin Wenfeng. Meng Qing. She's actually dead. Wu Xie checked Meng Qing's injuries. This matter was very serious. However, when Wu Xie saw that Meng Qing's aura was intact, her eyes were especially empty. This was a way to die without a soul. Wu Xie had seen many deaths like this. This was because Wu Xie was good at this kind of method. He could directly shatter a person's soul in the body. No matter how strong your Yuanli was, it would be useless. As long as your soul was shattered, everything would be over. No matter what method you used, it would be useless. Her soul was erased. Ordinary people would not have such methods and skills. A cold light flashed in Wu Xie's eyes. Soul returning beast. It's really on that kid. Chapter 961. Wanyong Marquis Mansion. Qi Yanran couldn't refuse Deputy Palace Master Chu Tairan's request. After all, he was the duke of this country. Since he invited you to the banquet, of course, she had to give him enough face. So basically, everyone who could come had come. However, Qi Yanran had always been thinking about Li Zongjiu. Today was the day when Li Zongjiu came out of seclusion. She wanted to go directly to the entrance of the Black Canal Basilica to wait, but that place was extremely special, and outsiders couldn't easily get close. After some persuasion, Qi Yanran simply waited in the Wanyong Marquis Mansion. "Miss, why are you standing at the door? Is there anything wrong with my Wanyong Marquis Mansion?" Just when Qi Yanran was standing quietly, an elegant and well-dressed young man walked over from behind. When this person came, the smile on his face made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. However, Qi Yanran didn't care about the person behind her at all. She didn't even turn around. "I'm waiting for someone," Qi Yanran said lightly. The person behind her saw Qi Yanran's cold temperament and smiled confidently. "I'm Wan Qiankuan, Wan Yonggong, my grandfather." As soon as Wan Qiankuan finished speaking, Qi Yanran shouted in surprise. "Zongjiu." Then, Qi Yanran lifted her skirt and ran. She rushed to Li Zongjiu and hugged Li Zongjiu. Behind him, the confident smile on Wan Qiankuan's face immediately turned into embarrassment. He never thought that there would actually be someone who could ignore his name and ignore him. This was the first time in history for Wan Qiankuan. Most importantly, Wan Qiankuan saw that the man who threw Qi Yanran into his arms was followed by two beauties. There was a look of jealousy in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. "You two are really too much." Ling Yan curled his lips and said. Qi Yanran shyly let go of her hands and stood obediently beside Li Zongjiu. "Who is that person?" Li Zongjiu saw the man standing behind Qi Yanran sneakily just now. This man did not look like a good person. He had to find the time to get rid of him. "No, I don't." Qi Yanran shook her head and said. She did not hear a single word of what Wan Qiankuan had just said. "Come on, let's go in. The banquet will start soon," Su Sha urged. These two people were simply too arrogant. They didn't put the single women in their eyes at all. It was really too disgusting. "Boss, you've finally come." At this moment, Kun Erisher also walked out from not far away from Wan Qiankuan. Kun Erisher was, of course, very concerned about Li Zongjiu. Especially when Li Zongjiu was not around, he naturally wanted to protect Qi Yanran. Just now, Kun Erisher saw that Wan Qiankuan was a little sneaky. He picked up a brick and stood not far away. If Wan Qiankuan dared to have any improper thoughts, he would directly throw the brick in his hand. He must not let these people be so arrogant. "Who is this Wan Yonggong?" Li Zongjiu asked Kun Erisher. Kun Erisher also walked in front of Li Zongjiu and others and whispered. "This Wan Yonggong is said to have saved the life of the previous emperor 3 times. He is a senior official of 3 dynasties. Once, he broke into the enemy camp alone and rescued the emperor, so he was conferred the title of Wan Yonggong. He is also a marquis." Kun Erisher said. "Marquis? What is that?" Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Obviously, he did not care about the other party's title. If someone in the Wan Yonggong Marquis Mansion dared to cause trouble, he would not let them go. These people would be easily taken down. "Let's go and meet them." At this time, the people of the 2 dynasties were invited. No one knew what the purpose was. Just now, Kun Erisher said that this Wan Yonggong was the person who saved the emperor. Therefore, this might be the emperor's intention. He wanted to recruit these people to a certain extent. After all, with so many talents here, who would be willing to let them go so easily? You must be Li Zongjiu. Sure enough, hearing about you is not as good as meeting you in person. Wan Qiankuan saw that Li Zongjiu was so frivolous and wanted to test him. No one could be compared to him, Wan Qiankuan. Yes. Li Zongjiu's footsteps did not stop. He did not even look at Wan Qiankuan and directly led everyone in. The group of people acted as if they did not see Wan Qiankuan and followed behind Li Zongjiu. The banquet was set up in the main hall. The guests of the two dynasties were also sitting on the two sides. At the very front, there was a white-haired old man, Wan Yonggong. Beside the old man, there was a beautiful woman serving him. When he saw Li Zongjiu and the others coming in from the door, he raised his head and looked at Li Zongjiu. His gaze fell on Li Zongjiu and Ling Yan. When Chu Tairan saw that Li Zongjiu had arrived, he hurriedly asked Li Zongjiu to sit at the side. Qi Yanran, Ling Yan and the others sat at a long table. Haha, Wan Yonggong, this is my Heavenly Pill Pavilion's honorary elder, Li Zongjiu. Zongjiu, this is Haiku Dynasty's Wan Yonggong. Li Zongjiu looked at Wan Yonggong. Wan Yonggong's old eyes were exceptionally spirited. When he saw that Li Zongjiu did not seem to have any intention of bowing, he did not get angry. Instead, he cupped his hands towards Li Zongjiu. I have long heard of young hero Li's fame. Even in my Black Chu kingdom, your name is like thunder in my ears. Wan Yonggong took the initiative to speak. Young talents were extremely arrogant, so it was normal. Knowing the temper of these young people, Wan Yonggong spoke first and gave Li Zongjiu enough face. Marquis Wan Yonggong is indeed extraordinary. Li Zongjiu also took a glance at Marquis Wan Yonggong. At first, Li Zongjiu thought that Wan Yongho was arrogant and even invited so many young people to this banquet to show his strength. But now, it seemed that Wan Yongho was quite polite, so Li Zongjiu naturally gave him face. Li Zongjiu sat down. Opposite him were Elder Hao Yi and Mu Qingniu. You are all the pillars of the two dynasties. It is my honor to be able to drink with you. Marquis Wan Yonggong said as he raised his cup. Marquis Wan Yonggong, it is the first time these juniors have ventured into the underworld. It is naturally their honor to be able to receive Marquis Wan Yonggong's guidance. Elder Hao Yi said. Indeed, these juniors are not sensible. They still need to learn from Marquis Wan Yonggong. Chu Tairan said. If we are talking about outstanding talents in the alchemy world, the few of you deserve to be. My Marquis Wan Yonggong also likes to interact with young people. This is my granddaughter, Yulan. She is also an alchemy enthusiast. Although she is not proficient in alchemy, this old man does not know anything about alchemy. I wonder if there is any talent who is willing to give her some guidance. Marquis Wan Yonggong said. The girl who had been quietly serving Marquis Wan Yonggong also raised her head at this moment. Her pair of exquisite eyes were enough to move one's soul. I am Wan Yulan. Recently, I have a problem in alchemy. I hope senior brothers and sisters can give me some guidance. Wan Yulan's voice was like an orchid in an empty valley. It made people who heard it feel like they had fallen into a realm of emptiness. This girl has such profound mental energy. Qi Yanran said in surprise. Chapter 962. Wan Yulan threw out a few questions one after another. It was like an invisible competition. Lin Lin from the Tianyan dynasty answered a few questions, and Ling Yan from the Shengyan dynasty also answered a few questions. They were all solved well. Both sides' faces were considered to be okay, but they didn't expect to have such a secret confrontation at such a banquet. However, when Wan Yulan asked the last question, she was stumped by the young female alchemist. This question was prepared by Wan Yulan. Even a 6th-grade alchemist might not be able to answer it. If one could understand this point, then he or she would belong to the 7th-grade alchemist realm. Obviously, the rest of the people had been defeated. For Wan Yulan's question, many people were confused. Miss Yolan's question, I'm afraid that only a 7th-grade alchemist can answer it. Nan Peixian said. If one were to talk about the identity of an aristocratic family, the Nan family that Nan Peixian belonged to was also famous in the Holy Flame royal city. Therefore, many people would not be able to come into contact with this point. However, Nan Peixian was able to make out a rough idea, which also proved that Nan Peixian was extraordinary. As for Wan Yulan, she glanced at Li Zongjiu and Mu Qingniu. Clearly, she knew that only the two of them would know the answer to this question. Mu Qingniu frowned and thought for a while, but in the end, he shook his head helplessly. There was no solution. Obviously, Mu Qingniu was defeated. Although there was no disdain in Wan Yulan's eyes, she obviously didn't put Mu Qingniu in her eyes. Instead, her eyes fell on Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu picked up a chicken drumstick from the table and placed it in the bowl. Then, he gently pushed the chicken drumstick to Qi Yanran's side. Seeing the extra drumstick in front of her eyes, Qi Yanran also glared in Li Zongjiu's direction. What was this guy doing in public? How could he show off like this? Obviously, Li Zongjiu didn't want to answer these questions. In Li Zongjiu's view, this kind of question was simply a child's play. He didn't have any interest in it. The other party was just using this question to show off a little, so he simply let the other party show off. Li Zongjiu himself wasn't a 3-year-old kid, so he wouldn't be affected by this kind of atmosphere in such an occasion. He seemed to see that everyone was looking at him. Chu Tairan also coughed. This kid was simply messing around. He actually ignored Wan Yulan's words. Wasn't he not giving face to Wan Yonggong in public? With Miss Wan's strength as a level 6 spiritual master, this question will be solved sooner or later. Even if I tell you the answer, it will only have a certain impact on you. It's not a good thing. When you are free, study more on how to control your spiritual power better. Don't be in a state of mind so easily. Li Zongjiu said. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was surprised. Although they could sense that Wan Yulan's strength wasn't simple, they didn't expect Wan Yulan's strength to be so strong. Level 6 Spiritual Master. Even an Origin Emperor realm expert wouldn't be able to defeat her. They didn't expect this little girl to have such strength. They had misjudged her before. Wan Yulan also looked at Li Zongjiu in surprise. She was good at spiritual power, and controlling her aura was one of the things she was best at. She didn't expect her true cultivation to be exposed so easily in front of Li Zongjiu. However, Wan Yulan also heard the content of Li Zongjiu's words. Spiritual power overflowed and often entered a state of mind. When she heard this, Wan Yulan was extremely shocked. This was her recent situation. Even her grandfather didn't mention it. Li Zongjiu could describe it so accurately. Even if it was just 1 or 2 words, it was enough to shock Wan Yulan. At least, if Li Zongjiu could describe these problems, it meant that Li Zongjiu was also a powerful spiritual master. However, Wan Yulan couldn't sense Li Zongjiu's spiritual realm. This meant that if Li Zongjiu's spiritual cultivation wasn't weak, then he was stronger than her. Young Master Li's insight is like a torch. You really live up to your reputation. Wan Yulan said. Let me toast you. After speaking, Wan Yulan downed the wine in her cup in a single gulp as a sign of respect. Li Zongjiu also faintly smiled as he downed the wine in his cup. Come, let's all have a drink together. During the entire banquet, they listened to the old seniors talk about some interesting things. Li Zongjiu could see that this was a test from Wan Yonggong himself. He didn't know what this old man wanted to do. The banquet continued until late at night. Someone came to report some things to Wan Yonggong, which ended the banquet early. Before leaving, Wan Yonggong repeatedly urged them to stay. He wanted the alchemy geniuses of the 2 dynasties to stay in the Wanyong Marquis Manor for a few more days. However, both sides refused. Now that the competition was over, they naturally had to rush back to report the results. However, Although these people didn't return, the Shengyan dynasty's royal family already knew about the situation here. Young hero Li, my Wanyong Marquis Manor. You must come often in the future. Wan Yonggong warmly shook Li Zongjiu's hand and said goodbye. If there's a chance, I will. Li Zongjiu said with a faint smile. Yulan, send them off for me. Yes, grandfather. Wan Yulan went forward and sent Li Zongjiu and the others out. Young Master Li, you went to Black Canal Basilica. You must be careful. These people are unscrupulous in their actions. Wan Yulan whispered to Li Zongjiu. I know. Li Zongjiu said without hiding anything. We received a piece of information. I hope it'll be useful to you. Consider it a gift from a friend. Wan Yulan handed a letter to Li Zongjiu. The others walked in front, and only Qi Yanran followed Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu opened the letter on the spot. When he saw the words on it, he only frowned, but there was no hint of panic in his eyes. Ancient Zong clan. Since they want to die, I'll stop them. Li Zongjiu returned the letter to Wan Yulan. I, Li, will remember this favor. It was clear that Wan Yonggong was the one who had given the information that the people from the ancient Zong clan were going to carry out an assassination mission and had even informed Li Zongjiu about it. Such a reminder would naturally be a great help to a normal person. But when it came to Li Zongjiu, it did not matter whether there was a reminder or not. If any of those people came, they would kill him. Besides, Li Zongjiu would still come looking for him in the future. If he did something wrong, he would have to pay the price. If he offended some people, he would have to pay the price as well. It was impossible for him to just let it go without doing anything. As she watched Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran leave, Wan Yulan frowned deeply. Wan Yulan had thought that with her strength, while she was not strong enough to look down on those geniuses, she would at least be a step ahead of them, which should not be a problem. But when she ran into Li Zongjiu, it was only then that she realized that Li Zongjiu was a mountain with unfathomable depths. What he showed was just the tip of the iceberg. His true strength was still hidden. Evil Lord does live up to his name, but the people from the ancient Zong clan aren't easy to deal with. Even Wan Yulan from the Wan family had a grave expression on her face, which meant that the ancient Zong clan was not to be trifled with. Wan Yulan told Wan Yonggong everything Li Zongjiu had said. Let's not talk about the ancient Zong clan for now. This Li Zongjiu is really something. Meng Qing from Black Canal Basilica died in his hands. Wan Yonggong sucked in a sharp breath. He had just received the news during the banquet, but at that time, Wan Yonggong did not show any signs of shock. He looked as if he had just heard about something that was incredibly easy. However, Wan Yonggong's heart was actually filled with astonishment. What? Meng Qing died? This time, Wan Yulan was thoroughly shocked. Black Canal Basilica had carefully nurtured geniuses, and they could be considered a secret weapon. Meng Qing's strength was not below Wan Yulan's. But now, she was dead. Chapter 963. The Ancient Zong Family. They could be said to be incredibly famous in the Haiku dynasty. If a person's status in society was not high enough, then they would not be able to get to know such a terrifying family. Without anyone to introduce them, they would never be able to come into contact with them. The members of the ancient Zong family would not accept orders from normal people. However, once they accepted an assassination order, they would use the entire family's power to complete it, and they would almost always have a 100% completion rate. Hence, with such a reputation, there was no need to even mention the price. A normal person would not be able to fork out that kind of money even if they spent their entire lives. Of course, if there were orders that they could not complete, they would rather cancel them. That way, they would not be considered unable to complete them. No matter what method they used, the ancient Zong family would ensure that they could complete their missions. This time, they accepted an order from the Qian family. The ancient Zhang family had originally accepted it happily, because they heard that their target was a foreigner, which made it easier for them. If it was a faction of power from their own dynasty, they might have to fight to the death for a period of time, and it would be more troublesome to deal with the aftermath. However, there was no need for them to worry about foreigners. However, during the next few days of preparation, the ancient Zhang family discovered that the target of the mission was not as simple as they had imagined. After a few rounds of investigation, they discovered that the difficulty of the mission was much greater than they had imagined. There was also a series of events. In the end, they discovered that the family master of the Qian family had been killed. That was terrible. Hence, the entire ancient Zhang family immediately began a comprehensive evaluation of Li Zongjiu. The family master of the Qian family was the one who had accepted the order, and he had placed the order under Qian Tianding's name. Now that he was dead, what use was there for him? The order could be considered a dead order in the hands of the ancient Zhang family. It was the kind of order that they would complete even if they died, unless they did not care about their reputation. Since they could no longer cancel the order, and by the looks of it, the difficulty of the mission seemed to have increased. Hence, the ancient Zhang family sent a representative to the Qian family. He had a discussion with the new family master. The main topic of the discussion was to increase the amount of money. They could not cancel the order, but they had to increase the amount of money. Qian Hailong and the others met the representative from the ancient Zhang family. What, more money? I've already paid you all in one go, and you still want to add more? You're just trying to raise the price. Could it be that the mighty ancient Zhang family is someone who uses such methods to seek profit? The moment they heard that they were going to pay more, some of the elders could no longer sit still. Recently, these elders had also changed some new faces. After all, they were new officials, so they naturally had to stabilize their positions. When they heard that Qian Xiaojia had also died, this matter was quite exciting. The people of the Qian family were good at making money, and their ability to keep money was also quite good. They held the money in their pockets tightly, and absolutely would not let it go easily. When they heard that they would have to pay more, and the amount was so terrifying, almost 3 times the price of the previous order, they couldn't help but feel that they could do anything else with this amount of money. Why did they have to use it for something like this? There's no need for us to do this order. There's also no need for you to refund the money we paid before, Qian Hailong said calmly. Qian Hailong said calmly. Previously, he had ordered the assassination of Li Zongjiu to gain some face for the Qian family. But now, Li Zongjiu had killed his way into the Qian family's territory and killed the current family head. That was why if there was no need, they would try their best not to provoke Li Zongjiu. Besides, he was about to leave, so if they chased after him, they would be courting death. That was why Qian Hailong would try his best not to provoke Li Zongjiu if he could. Sooner or later, there would be someone even more powerful who would take him down, so there was no need for Qian Hailong to take action. If he did, then he would definitely kill Li Zongjiu, or else Li Zongjiu would definitely come back to cause trouble. Qian Hailong believed in this without a doubt. But at the same time, the people from the ancient Zhang family were not to be trifled with. Just as he expected, when the person from the ancient Zhang family heard that, his gaze immediately turned sharp. Is the ancient Zhang family the kind of family that takes money and doesn't do anything? I didn't come here to discuss things with you, but to inform you. You will have to pay for it later. After all, the price for this operation will be incredibly high. The person from the ancient Zhang family said faintly. There was an unyielding tone in his voice. If it were not because of the powerful faction behind him, this person would not have dared to cause trouble in the Qian family. We, the ancient Zhang family, do what we say. As long as we accept this order, we will definitely complete it. If the Qian family can't pay the price, then you are just toying with us. As he spoke, the person tapped the table with his finger. Toying with the ancient Zhang family? There had been some families in the past who were killed by the ancient Zhang family in the end because they had the reputation of toying with them. Not a single one of them was spared. Besides, the ancient Zhang family did not attack them directly. Instead, they killed them one by one in the dark, and they did not do it in one day. Instead, they did it over a few days. But without exception, not a single one of them managed to escape. Even if they wanted to hire guards, no one would accept such an order. After all, if they offended the Death family, they would not end up well. The only outcome was that they would be easily killed. To the people who were killed and were already dead, it was a form of release, but to the people who were still alive, it was a form of torture, because they did not know when the horn of death would descend on them. Qian Hailong and the elders of the Qian family looked at the person before them. He was simply too arrogant. He actually dared to force the Qian family. Once they placed the order, they could not even cancel it if they wanted to. They had to pay the money back. Alright, since we can't cancel it, then there's no need for us to cancel it. But I hope that the ancient Zhang family can guarantee that once you take the money, you will definitely do it well. Qian Hailong said. If these people could deal with Li Zongjiu after they took the money, then it would be a good thing. At the very least, they would not be at a disadvantage. Otherwise, if they offended Li Zongjiu and the ancient Zhang family, it would be difficult for them to deal with them, and they would bring a lot of trouble to themselves. It was not worth it. Hence, if they could solve the problem with money, it would naturally be for the best. Don't worry, the ancient Zhang family always keeps our promises. No, our promises are worth 10 million gold. The person from the ancient Zhang family laughed. Qian Hailong grinned as well. It was naturally good that he was so confident. If these two troublesome people fought against each other, Qian Hailong would be happy to see it happen. No matter which side was in trouble, Qian Hailong would still be happy. Heavenly Pill Tower. Chu Tairan was holding a celebratory feast for the people on the flying ship. After the tournament ended, they were sent to Black Canal Basilica, and only then did they have time to gather together. You've been drinking and eating all day long. Aren't you slacking off on your cultivation? Li Zongjiu sat in front of the table. These people had been drinking and drinking all day long, and they were truly carefree. Li Zongjiu was naturally talking about Chu Tairan and Zhou Zheng. These two people might be powerful, but they could not slack off on their cultivation. I'm getting old. The future of Heavenly Pill Tower will still depend on you youngsters. We're already at an age, so of course we'll just be in charge of enjoying our lives. Chu Tairan laughed loudly. The flying ship flew into the sea of clouds. The journey back was clearly faster than when they came. First of all, they were familiar with the route, and second of all, the black storm had already disappeared, so there was nothing to worry about. Chapter 964. The airship disappeared into the clouds. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were now staying in the same cabin. However, Li Zongjiu spent most of his time cultivating. When night came, he would find an excuse to help Qi Yanran refine the Heavenly Dragon Elixir. This Heavenly Dragon Elixir was too strong. The airship safely entered the Shengyan dynasty's territory. When the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion entered the Shengyan dynasty's territory, they found a group of airships waiting for them. There were nearly 20 airships lined up in the sky. It almost covered the sky in front of him. When the airships arrived, the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion also stopped. General Xiao Hu is here to welcome you back. Xiao Hu. One of the 10 great generals of Monarch City, General Xiao Hu. The family behind Xiao Hu was as famous as the Mu family. These two families were both military families, and each of them was a talented person. Xiao Hu controlled the dynasty's most elite air fleet. Xiao Hu actually came to welcome them personally. Obviously, the Emperor Shengyan was very satisfied with the results of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. If he was not satisfied with such results, his request was too high. Thank you, General Xiao. Chu Tairan appeared and said. Obviously, the dynasty was also prepared. If the dynasty's strength was not strong, it would be easy to be bullied. This time, although there were many difficulties, there were no major problems because of the strength of the dynasty behind them. The fleet under Xiao Hu's control had been lying in wait for orders in the vicinity. Although it was unrealistic to attack the Haiku dynasty, they could at least intimidate the Haiku dynasty and carry out some rescue operations without any problems. That was what gave them confidence. One could even see that the main warship of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion's fleet was a type of warship that had not been made public by the dynasty. Li Zongjiu looked at the powerful warships. A few primitive emperors would die without a complete corpse when facing these warships. Of course, Li Zongjiu was an exception. It seems that the development of the warships is faster than I expected. I asked the Zheng family to speed up. We can't keep dragging it. All along, warships had been a resource of the dynasty. However, the dynasty did not object to the people producing these warships. If one wanted to build a warship, it would consume a lot of money and energy. If one did not have a strong backing, it would be very likely to give up halfway. Not everyone could afford to pay the price of wasting all their previous efforts. Therefore, the Shengyan dynasty's royal family did not care about the private research. This was a good thing, at least the dynasty would be strong when the people were strong. The warship escorted the people from Heavenly Elixir Pavilion all the way to Sacred Flame Royal City. Along the way, it was naturally calm. It was not a simple matter for the people from the Haiku dynasty to infiltrate. Even if they wanted to come in, it would depend on their luck whether they could come out alive. What's more, Xiao Hu was there as well, and he was able to intimidate the people in front of him. No one dared to get close to him. The group of people returned to Sacred Flame Royal City. Su Hong and the rest of the people from Heavenly Elixir Pavilion prepared a welcoming ceremony. However, Li Zongjiu did not stay at such an occasion for too long. He took his leave immediately, as there was no benefit for him. However, Chu Tairan did not forget about the reward that he had promised to give to Li Zongjiu and the rest. He was also seriously discussing it, but there was no answer so soon. Li Zongjiu and the rest could be said to have won glory for the dynasty and the entire Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. Naturally, the reward could not be stingy. When Li Zongjiu returned, he was not stopped too much. After all, he was tired from the journey. He could not possibly participate in all kinds of welcoming ceremonies as soon as he returned. Moreover, after Li Zongjiu's name became known, he was already a popular talent in Sacred Flame Royal City. Not long after, the number of invitations sent to his door would be more than 10 times more than before. Li Zongjiu brought Qi Yanran back to White Deer Manor. At first, Qi Yanran was a little shy and embarrassed. After all, she was following a boy home. Although she had been to White Deer Manor several times before, the significance this time was different. What's there to be shy about? It's our home. Li Zongjiu directly pulled Qi Yanran into White Deer Manor. Many things had happened recently. However, under the protection of the 4 primitive emperor-level soul beasts, only White Deer Manor could show off its power. The rest of the people did not dare to offend White Deer Manor at all. The current White Deer Manor could be said to be an iron bastion. Moreover, several big businesses were flourishing. The underground order of the casino industry was very stable. With the addition of the pawn shop, the Pan family's businesses in the city had been directly annexed. Now, the Li Trading Company's status in the Merchant Union had risen as a result. When they first joined the Merchant Alliance, they were still like a small eagle. They were not even enough to make a name for themselves. But now, the number of business partners of the Li Trading Company was increasing. The pawn shop industry. More often than not, it would also become an industry of selling stolen goods. Stolen goods that could not be sold would be thrown into the pawn shop. The pawn shop would buy them at a very low price. The risk factor was even lower than the black market. As long as the background of the pawn shop was strong enough, there was nothing to be afraid of. Look at Li Zongjiu and the White Deer Manor behind him. What was there to be afraid of? Young master, you're back. Xiao Zhao had already received the news and was waiting at the door for Li Zongjiu's return. When he saw Qi Yanran, he also greeted her sweetly. Xiao Zhao greets young madam. In the short span of half a month, the entire White Deer Manor had undergone a complete transformation. From afar, it looked like a long dragon was entrenched in it. However, Nangong Wuji's design of the palace was rather discreet. After all, this was the Sacred Flame Royal City. If the royal family had any objections, they might charge Nangong Wuji with a crime and demolish the entire building. Wouldn't it be easy for them to teach Nangong Wuji a lesson? Not yet. Qi Yanran immediately blushed. Yo, our little piggy has grown up. He even knows how to take other people's cabbages. Li Yun walked over from the side and teased Li Zongjiu. Obviously, she was very satisfied with Li Zongjiu's achievements. You must be Yanran. Come, I'll show you around. You can also tell me if this brat bullied you. If he dares to do anything to you, I'll be the first to cripple him. Li Yun clenched her fist and said. Li Zongjiu rolled his eyes helplessly. Fortunately, this sister was not his biological sister. The dignified evil Lord Li Zongjiu was completely disgraced by this sister. She's my cousin, Li Yun. When Qi Yanran was pulled away, she looked back at Li Zongjiu. It seemed that she was asking who the woman in front of her was, so Li Zongjiu opened his mouth to speak. Qi Yanran finally understood. She obediently followed her cousin. Where's the King of Fire? Li Zongjiu asked Xiao Zhao, who was beside him. During this period of time, he was most worried about the King of Fire. Sure enough, when he returned, he found that the King of Fire was not in White Deer Manor. Where could he have gone? Chapter 965. Because of Wu Tian, the King of Fire must be trying to find a way to take back the things in the Ghost King's secret realm. Li Zongjiu still had no idea what the King of Fire's true form was. But according to Li Zongjiu's guess, it was most likely related to the existence in the Ghost King's secret realm. Just like the three pure ones, the King of Fire and Wu Tian were actually one entity. After they were separated, Wu Tian would definitely come to find the King of Fire in order to become stronger. Send someone to keep an eye on the King of Fire's movements. If there's any news, let me know immediately. Li Zongjiu said. Yes, young master. By the way, keep an eye out. There should be people from the Haiku dynasty following us. If you find anything, let me know. Once you entered the Holy Flame Imperial City, it was equivalent to entering Li Zongjiu's territory. Then, there was nothing to say. He would just send someone to take you down. You would be helpless and have nothing to say. I'll let you know how powerful the local tyrant is. It's impossible to touch Li Zongjiu in the Holy Flame Imperial City without anyone noticing. After Qi Yanran took a tour around the White Deer Manor, it was time for her to return to the Qi family. You go back first. I'll pay you a visit tomorrow. Li Zongjiu said to Qi Yanran. Since the relationship between the two had been confirmed, Li Zongjiu would definitely treat his future father-in-law better. He had to prepare some gifts for his visit. Moreover, he had to refine some elixirs for Nangong Wuji. This fellow's cultivation base had yet to recover, but he had already done so much for Li Zongjiu. Speaking of which, he was quite pitiful. Originally, he had been quietly working as the librarian of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor's library. But now, he had to wear a helmet every day to patrol some incomplete construction sites. The first batch of disciples from the Li family had to work on the construction site during the day, and at night, they were directly captured by Tian Fei to cultivate. In addition, Li Zongjiu had also informed Kun Erishur that once Kun Erishur was done with his work, he would stay here and teach them how to cultivate their spiritual power. Although Kun Arashi's strength was not as good as Li Zongjiu's, Kun Erishur was, after all, a disciple of Master Miramoon. In this regard, there was nothing to say. It was easy for him to guide these people who were not even considered rookies in the cultivation of mind power. If Kun Erishur had returned, then of course he would have to report to Shueyue. After Qi Yanran left, Li Yun came to Li Zongjiu excitedly. When are you going to tell your father? Why don't I go back and tell them now? There's no hurry. Let's wait until our White Deer Manor is completely built and everything is ready. Li Zongjiu shook his head. There were still many unsettled situations, and before his strength reached the supremacy realm, there were still many hidden dangers. At least for now, the White Deer Manor was not enough to resist the Shengyan dynasty's imperial family. Of course, Li Zongjiu and the Shengyan dynasty's imperial family did not have any conflicts of interest, so now both sides were at peace. Okay. By the way, Master said that she was going to travel around, and now she has handed the order of the underground black market to me. All the affairs of the Ghost King Palace have been handed over to me. Li Zongjiu glanced at Li Yun in surprise. The black market was probably something that the King of Fire had set up when he was bored, but it was so easy for him to hand it over to someone else. Letting Li Yun manage the entire underground world was also a kind of appreciation for Li Yun. Alright, as long as you don't destroy him. Li Zongjiu said seriously. Hearing this, Li Yun was so angry that she wanted to fight Li Zongjiu to the death. However, Li Zongjiu did not have the time to mess around with Li Yun. Now, the White Deer Manor's reserves were extremely rich. After earning so much money, there was an incalculable amount of money flowing into the White Deer Manor every day. Although Li Zongjiu did not directly mention it, Xiao Xiao had already arranged for people to purchase some precious herbs for storage. After all, the Li family was an alchemy family. Although Li Zongjiu was a high-level alchemist, but if you want to continue cultivating alchemists, you have to use more herbs to pile up this talent. Why are you here? When Li Zongjiu saw Lu Wenshan sitting in front of the alchemy building, he was also surprised. Greetings, young master. Xiao Xiao arranged for me to look after the alchemy building. Lu Wenshan quickly bowed to Li Zongjiu. If Li Zongjiu did not spare his life, he would have been dead by now. Recently, there was a lot of news in the underworld. Spirit Valley sect and Valley Immortal sect's movements were very quiet. It was said that they were suppressed by the Changshan Pavilion. After all, the death of the young pavilion master of the Changshan Pavilion was still unknown. How could they let it go so easily? After all, this was a very good opportunity. Therefore, it was a good choice for Lu Wenshan to stay here and not come out. Lu Wenshan never thought that he would have such an opportunity for him to refine pills in peace. This really made Lu Wenshan feel very grateful. Well, do a good job. You haven't broken through to the 6th grade alchemist, right? Study this pill recipe when you have time. Li Zongjiu casually threw a pill recipe to Lu Wenshan. The annotations on the pill recipe were also very detailed. It was very enlightening for the 5th grade alchemist. When Lu Wenshan flipped through the pill recipe in his hand, his whole hand was trembling. He was so excited that snot and tears were running down his face. He almost kowtowed to Li Zongjiu's back. He didn't expect that he was just a captive, but now he was treated like this. Every day, he guarded the alchemy building here and he was paid. In a month, he was paid 3,000 gold coins. After all, he was still a captive. Moreover, Lu Wenshan also had a monthly alchemy quota. He had to refine 10 5th grade pills. Otherwise, he would lose his current position. He finally didn't have to live in the stable anymore. Of course, he cherished it very much. Li Zongjiu entered the alchemy building. He began to refine the 2 pills. One of them was a 6th grade elixir that could help Nangong Wuji recover his strength. If he was lucky, it could even help Nangong Wuji reach a higher level. In addition, he also had to refine a pill. This pill could help Qi Shaohun's longevity tree original spirit completely evolve into the longevity tree emperor. As for whether he could break through to the Origin Emperor realm, it would depend on his own luck. However, when the Longevity Tree Emperor appeared, it was only a matter of time before he broke through to the Origin Emperor realm. Qi family. Qi Yanran returned to the mansion. She immediately went to find Qi Shaohun, wanting to tell him about Li Zongjiu. In the end, she saw two people leaving Qi Shaohun's study room. One was old and the other was young. The old man looked arrogant. As for the other young man, he also had an air of nobility between his brows. As she was leaving, she saw Qi Yanran walking towards her. A smile immediately appeared on her face. Yanran, long time no see. Huaqing. Qi Yanran also recognized the young man in front of her. There was a trace of surprise in her eyes. She didn't expect to meet Huaqing here. Although you haven't entered the Hua family yet, you should pay attention to your identity and influence. Don't associate with those shady people in the future. Huaqing, let's go. The old man looked at Qi Yanran indifferently, as if he was teaching her a lesson. Qi Yanran frowned. A guest lecturing the host. It's hard to say who's shady. Qi Yanran was not afraid of anything, not to mention that she followed Li Zongjiu now. Many things were similar in style. Moreover, the situation was unclear. If it was an ordinary woman, she would tolerate it. However, Qi Yanran couldn't. Moreover, this was the Qi family's territory. Hua family, no matter how mighty you are, you can't be mighty in the Qi family. Yanran, this is my third grandpa. Huaqing immediately said with a straight face. This is the Qi family. Take care. I won't send you off. After Qi Yanran finished speaking, she walked into Qi Shaohun's study room, ignoring the two self-righteous people outside. He wasn't being arrogant. After all, the Hua family was really powerful. The 4 trump cards of the imperial court. The Hua family was in charge of the Green Dragon army. In the family, there were Green Dragon generals. Chapter 966. Qi Yanran left directly, leaving the two people looking at each other in dismay. The third grandpa was furious that a young man dared to talk to him like this. If he was in the army, he would definitely make him suffer. He would feel what it meant to be in so much pain that he wished he was dead. If you can't discipline such a wild girl in the future, don't go home. The old man flicked his sleeves and strode away. Today, the old man was opposed to the marriage proposal. The Hua family had been generals for generations and had fought on the battlefield. How could such a family like the Qi family, which had little influence in the imperial court? To put it bluntly, the Qi family could have its current status and influence because the imperial court gave it a living. If the imperial court didn't give it a living, the Qi family wouldn't be able to mine the primordial stone mine and gain any benefits from it. How could the Qi family be where it was today? Therefore, in the view of the third grandpa of the Hua family, Qi Yanran must have used some means to bewitch Huaqing. She wanted to climb up the branch and become a phoenix. A pheasant was a pheasant. However, Huaqing was an outstanding member of the younger generation of the Hua family after all. The adults of the Hua family respected Huaqing's wishes, so they asked the third grandpa of the Hua family to come and propose marriage for Huaqing. Moreover, Qi Yanran's recent performance in the Three Dynasties Elixir Conference was really good, which made the people of the Hua family relax. Otherwise, as the third grandpa of the Hua family said, she wouldn't be able to step into the door of the Hua family. Huaqing shook his head helplessly. He also knew Qi Yanran's temper. After so many years, she was still like this, but Huaqing liked it. No matter how unruly a woman was, she could only obey him obediently. Sooner or later, she would be trained. At that time, he would see if Qi Yanran's temper was still so hard. Qi Yanran walked into Qi Xiaohuan's study. The expression on her face was extremely unfriendly. Father, what are Huaqing doing here? Qi Yanran and Hu Qing were not very familiar with each other. They had studied in the same school when they were young, and then they didn't contact each other much. Yanran is back. Qi Shaohun was surprised to see Qi Yanran come back. Moreover, there were some items on Qi Yanran's table. The most precious item was a medicinal pill. Qi Yanran's nose twitched as she knew that it was a medicinal pill. What is this? Qi Yanran grabbed the box on the table. He opened it to take a look. A 6th grade medicinal pill, myriad wood pill. Apart from that, there was also a permit. And what was written on this permit was the mining rights of a yuan stone mine near the Green Dragon Mountain. What do these things mean? Although Qi Yanran had some guesses in her heart, she still looked at Qi Shaohun. Qi Shaohun let out a long sigh. The Hu family is here to propose marriage. Qi Shaohun said in a deep voice. As the family head of the Qi family, how could he not be tempted when he saw these priceless items? These items could bring great changes to the Qi family with just a little bit of use. Not to mention the myriad wood pill. Just the mining permit alone was already priceless. If the Qi family could obtain this mining permit, the Qi family's strength would definitely double, or even triple, its current strength. However, the price to get these items was not small. Therefore, Qi Shaohun did not make a decision immediately. Instead, he waited for Qi Yanran to come back. I don't agree. Qi Yanran refused directly. Of course I know your temper. You haven't agreed yet. Although I'm the family head, I'm still your father. Qi Shaohun patted his chest and said. It was as if he was trying to say that his father was like a mountain that could block all difficulties for her. But the Hu family is the real power behind the Green Dragon army. Even if we want to refuse, we have to find an absolutely good way to not offend them. This was also what Qi Shaohun was worried about. The Hu family's strength was because the Hu family's main battlefield was not doing business. Their main goal was how many bandits were killed today, how many rebels were eliminated, and how many people's houses were confiscated. This was the Hu family's business. What the Green Dragon army did was to maintain the stability of the Shengyan dynasty. The reason why these Jianghu families could make money so peacefully was that the Green Dragon army was guarding outside. They were not great. After all, they had to pay taxes. Those who were eliminated were those who did not pay taxes. Therefore, if a Jianghu family like the Qi family wanted to confront the Hu family head-on, they would not have a good ending. Qi Yanran looked at Qi Shaohun angrily. Obviously, Qi Shaohun's words were meant for Qi Yanran's ears. Although both of them would eventually walk on the path of marriage, Qi Shaohun also wanted to give Qi Yanran more freedom. However, this crisis would not be so easy to overcome. I'm with Li Zongjiu. Qi Yanran said. Initially, Qi Yanran was still thinking about how to bring up this matter. However, now that such a thing had happened, Qi Yanran was forced to say it out loud. Now is not the problem of who you are with. The problem now is. Wait, what did you say? Who are you with? Who are you with? Qi Shaohun picked up the tea and wanted to take a sip. He wanted to analyze the pros and cons with Qi Yanran, but suddenly, when he heard clearly, he was stunned. What did this girl just say? Qi Shaohun had traveled extensively for so many years and had seen many big and small scenes, but for the scene in front of him, he really did not expect such a scene. Even when this day came, Qi Shaohun felt a little weak. Even if Qi Shaohun was a wily old fox, when he heard this, his heart could not help but tremble. You. What did you just say? Can you say it again? Qi Shaohun widened his eyes. I'm with Li Zongjiu. He will come to see you tomorrow. At that time, you can do as you see fit. After Qi Yanran finished speaking, she directly turned around and left. First, it was because she was shy, and second, it was because she was angry that Qi Shaohun did not directly reject Hu Qing. That was why Qi Yanran was so angry. Damn! I knew this kid's motive was not pure. That kid didn't do anything to you, right? Qi Xiaohun shouted loudly at Qi Yanran's back. After hearing this, Qi Yanran directly quickened her pace and left quickly. It's over, it's over. I have been raising cabbages for so many years, but this brat. I'm not done with him. Qi Xiaohun shouted loudly, but his face was full of a very happy and excited expression. This person was really strange. If it was another kid, Qi Xiaohun would have already sent someone to break his legs. But the target was Li Zongjiu. Qi Xiaohun simply wanted to give Qi Yanran a thumbs up. She actually managed to take down Li Zongjiu. What a pity, what a pity. Although the Huo family is good, you are already in a difficult situation. Now, even if I don't want to marry you, ha ha ha. Qi Xiaohun naturally disdained the marriage with the Huo family. If both parties were willing, then it would be a strong union. But if he had to sacrifice his daughter's happiness in exchange for money, Qi Xiaohun would not do such a thing. He just needed a reason. Now that Qi Yanran had found this reason, there was basically nothing to worry about. At the very least, the two young people could compete with each other. Ha, I'm happy just thinking about it. Come, pack up these things. What are these things? You want to cheat my daughter away? Dream on. Qi Xiaohun said with confidence. Chapter 967. The next day. Xiao Zhao prepared a lot of gifts for Li Zongjiu. Knowing that his young master was going to visit his future father-in-law, Xiao Zhao specially prepared a lot of antiques. Moreover, the Qi family was born to play with stones. Therefore, he specially selected some precious jade and the like. Let me accompany you, young master. No need. When Nangong Wuji is free later, you can give this to him. Li Zongjiu said. Inside the bottle was the elixir for Nangong Wuji. Li Zongjiu didn't remember when they agreed on the time. Anyway, the effect of the elixir would definitely satisfy Nangong Wuji. Okay, young master, you can do it. Xiao Zhao covered his mouth and snickered. When Li Zongjiu was about to go out, he saw Li Yun standing at the door. She looked bold and decisive, as if she was going to do something big. What are you doing? Li Zongjiu saw Li Yun standing at the door and seemed to have been waiting for a long time. He couldn't help but ask. I'm going with you. After all, I'm the oldest among these people. Li Yun said as she crossed her arms. So what if you're strong? I'm your cousin. Among the disciples of the Li family who came, most of them were younger than Li Zongjiu. Of course, there were a few who were slightly older, but they were all collateral relatives and weren't close to Li Zongjiu. No need. Li Zongjiu said and directly stepped out. However, Li Yun shamelessly followed him. Little brother, this kind of thing requires a parent to be present. I don't believe that you won't panic. Li Zongjiu naturally didn't panic. However, if he didn't allow Li Yun to follow him, she would definitely pester him and keep chattering. It was so noisy that it would kill him. In the end, Li Yun shamelessly followed him. Li Zongjiu hadn't thought of this. In his previous life, he had to rely on himself for almost everything, so Li Zongjiu had never thought of relying on others. He didn't have anyone to rely on. However, things were different in this life. He had his family by his side. There were some things that he could face together. The two of them sat in the carriage and slowly drove to the Qi family's courtyard. The journey from the White Deer Manor to the Qi clan's courtyard took nearly an hour. The entrance of the Qi family seemed to be especially clean today. Qi Xiaohun arranged for someone to welcome him at the door. After all, Li Zongjiu's current status was not lower than Qi Xiaohun's. In addition, he was an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. This was enough for Qi Xiaohun to curry favor with him. However, Li Zongjiu had come to pay a visit to his father-in-law. Therefore, Qi Shaohun naturally had to show off. Wanting to take away his daughter wasn't a simple matter. I'll have to trouble you to report that Li Yun and Li Zongjiu of the Li family have come to pay a visit. Li Yun handed some gold coins to the two guards at the door. When Li Zongjiu saw this scene, he simply sighed and turned around. This kind of method might work in a small place, but in this place, as long as you say your name, who would dare to stop you? The guards refused to accept and Li Yun kept pushing and shoving. It seemed that the two of them were about to fight. Elder Qi Feiyu, who was still waiting, quickly walked out from inside. Elderly, Miss Li, please come in, please come in. The family head has been waiting for a long time. Qi Feiyu walked out and saw that Li Yun was about to fight with the guard. He quickly held the two of them down. Elder, your family's guard is really honest. Li Yun also gasped for breath. She actually couldn't handle this guard after such a long time. This really made her, the new queen of the underground world, very unhappy. Hee, the family rules are stricter. Elder Qi Feiyu said with a smile. Li Yun's identity wasn't ordinary. She was Li Zongjiu's cousin. Just this point alone was already very important. With Li Zongjiu's identity and Li Zongjiu's status, Li Yun seemed to be very important. Usually, if there were some matters in the White Deer Manor that couldn't be decided, Xiao Zhao would also look for Li Yun to discuss. After all, Li Yun was the one with the real surname Li. In some matters, he had to respect Li Yun's decision. Of course, the final authority was still in Xiao Zhao's hands. Letting a capable person deal with these matters was better than letting an internal member deal with it. They were more impartial and could see further into the future. Qi Feiyu also knew of Li Yun's identity, so he didn't dare to be disrespectful. Elder Qi, you came early. Let's go. Li Zongjiu took the initiative and said. Qi Feiyu quickly smiled. Although Li Zongjiu hadn't said anything, Qi Shaohun, who couldn't keep his mouth shut yesterday, almost told the entire Qi family. Who didn't know that Li Zongjiu was very likely to be their future son-in-law? Family head is waiting in the main hall, please follow me. Qi Feiyu led Li Yun and Li Zongjiu inside. Along the way, the maids and servants that they met bowed one after another. There were also some young and strong Qi family disciples and Qi family guards. They were all secretly moving the stone tools in their hands with all their might. Moreover, their eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking in Li Zongjiu's direction. Your Qi family's training atmosphere is so lively. Li Yun walked with her long legs and saw these young people secretly exercising. She couldn't help but comment. Cough cough. Qi Feiyu immediately coughed a few times at these people. Obviously, he was here to show off to Li Zongjiu. These stupid people. Li Zongjiu naturally turned a blind eye. The three of them came to the main hall. Qi Shaohun had been waiting for a long time and had brewed a pot of good tea. When he saw Li Zongjiu and Li Yun coming in, his face immediately revealed an extremely bright smile. His daughter would get married sooner or later, but to be able to marry into a good family was the most important thing for Qi Shaohun. Of course, the most important thing was that his daughter wouldn't be wronged. Brother, I heard that you killed everyone in the Haiku dynasty's alchemy assembly. I have to congratulate you properly. Qi Shaohun said with a smile and invited Li Zongjiu to sit down. He waved Qi Feiyu and the others away. Family head Qi is too polite. Today, our family's Li Zongjiu specially came to pay you a visit. Li Zongjiu didn't say anything. Li Yun took the lead and said. She seemed to be very anxious about such things. Ha, you're too kind. I heard that Miss Li Yun is the array master of White Deer Manor. If you're free, you should come to my Qi family often. Although my Qi family is a group of people who play with stones, we still have a lot of Yuan rune array scrolls. Qi Shaohun said. Is that so? Then I'll have to come here more often. Patriarch Qi also knows that our Zongjiu is obsessed with cultivation all day long. He rarely comes out and only knows how to refine pills all day long. Hey, didn't you refine a pill yesterday? Bring it over for Patriarch Qi to appraise. Li Yun nudged Li Zongjiu with her elbow. Li Zongjiu sat at the side. The situation in front of him was completely controlled by Li Yun. He gave the myriad wood pill he concocted last night to Li Yun. This fellow had cultivated with the King of Fire for a period of time and controlled the underground world for a period of time. Unexpectedly, she had become bolder. Moreover, she had become very scheming. Although they were not here to propose marriage today, they should at least confirm their relationship. Who would have thought that Li Yun would come to talk about family matters? Oh. Let me see what kind of pill it is. Li Yun handed the pill over. When Qi Shaohun opened the porcelain bottle and saw what was inside, he felt enlightened and full of essence just by smelling it. Fuck. Qi Shaohun immediately jumped up from his seat after smelling it. However, Qi Shaohun realized that he had lost his composure and hurriedly corrected himself. Good, very good. This pill was concocted very well. When Qi Shaohun held the porcelain bottle in his hand, he felt his palms sweating. 6th grade high-grade pill. Myriad wood pill. 10,000 years of cultivation. Among the Qi family's longevity tree origin spirits, this elixir was definitely a divine elixir. If he could obtain this pill, he would definitely be able to advance his longevity tree king by 1 level. It was no wonder that Qi Shaohun was so excited. Hehe, Master Qi, this pill is just a small token. In the future, we should interact more with each other. Of course, Qi Xiaohuan's eyes could not leave the bottle in his hand. Master Qi, this is the first time we met. Take this pill as a gift for our first meeting. Besides, I have a presumptuous request. My younger brother is young and promising. He and Miss Yanran are well matched in terms of social status. It's reasonable for young people to interact with each other. Li Yun said. Yes, of course. Qi Xiaohuan's brain was not enough. He had completely fallen into Li Yun's trap. Li Zongjiu had been listening to them for a long time, but he still did not know what the main point of their conversation was. They were really good at wrangling. Wait a minute, brother. If you want to be with Yanran, I won't object. However, Yanran has been in trouble recently. Qi Shaohun did not finish his words. Then, he heard someone shouting outside. Master Huasan is here. Chapter 968. Brother, the people from the Hua clan wanted to propose marriage yesterday, but I had already sent them away. However, they are here again today. It is obvious that they are unwilling to give up so easily. Of course, the matters between you youngsters should be decided by yourselves. What do you think? Qi Shaohun said. Qi Shaohun's face showed that he was in a dilemma. It seemed that he had done his best, but he was unwilling to offend the Hua family. This trouble was naturally handed over to Li Zongjiu. Don't worry. No matter who he is, I'll settle it for you. Li Zongjiu said lightly. Isn't your seniority a bit messy? Li Yan didn't seem to have noticed the crux of the matter. She was only extremely curious about the way Qi Shaohun addressed Li Zongjiu. Wasn't this a little too casual? Li Zongjiu is your future son-in-law, yet you actually addressed him as your little brother? It was really messy. Master Qi, what do you think? In a few days, this old man will return to the barracks. I don't have time to waste here with you. The sooner you agree, the sooner I can go back to report. Hua Sanyu walked in and said. Although he was already old, his body was still very healthy. Qi Yanran didn't know how to be polite yesterday. But Hua Sanyu didn't care. The Hua family had already given the betrothal gift. There was no reason for them to take it back. Even if they wanted to end it, it would be the Hua family's Hua Qing who would abandon them. Before that, they had no right to leave. This was the Hua family's tyranny. They didn't care about what others thought. When Hua Sanyi and Hua Qing walked in, they found that there was not only Qi Shaohun in the main hall, but also a man and a woman. Hua Qing's eyes lit up when he saw Li Yun, but he quickly retracted his gaze. But before he retracted his gaze, he couldn't help but stop on Li Yun's long legs for a second and smiled at Li Yun. It seemed very appropriate. Master Qi, you have guests. We're just chatting amongst ourselves. Third Master Hua, please take a seat. Qi Shaohun said and then got up to pour tea for Hua Sanyi. He shook the teapot and found that there was no water in it. You guys chat first, I'll go add some water. What kind of status did Qi Shaohun have? Yet, he actually personally went to add water. Hua Third Master sat across from Li Yun, and Hua Qing naturally sat down facing Li Zongjiu. What are you doing here? Li Zongjiu took a sip of tea while Li Yun fiddled with her hair. She seemed a little bored. She didn't need to deal with these things. Now was the time for Li Zongjiu to show his manly strength. Hua Third Master didn't speak. Hua Qing cupped his hands towards Li Zongjiu. I am Hua Qing from the Hua family. This is my third grandfather. We are here to propose marriage. Hua Qing said with a smile. I have known Yanran since I was young. So many years have passed. Hua Qing seemed to be immersed in his youth as he said this. He looked very affectionate. When Li Zongjiu heard Yanran's name, he stood up and rushed towards Hua Qing. Li Zongjiu directly rushed in front of Hua Qing. Before Hua Qing could react, Hua Third Master had already realized that something was wrong. Li Zongjiu's speed was too fast. The sudden appearance of Li Zongjiu surprised Hua Qing. Li Zongjiu directly punched Hua Qing's face, hitting the bridge of his nose. Hua Qing was knocked over along with his chair. Bang! Li Zongjiu's punch was just right. It hit Hua Qing's whole body, and blood splattered all over his face. Brat, what are you doing? When Hua Third Master saw Hua Qing's miserable state, he immediately raised his hand and slapped towards Li Zongjiu's head. If this palm hit, Li Zongjiu's head would definitely be crooked. Of course, this was only Hua Third Master's guess. Bang! Li Zongjiu stood still. When the palm landed on Li Zongjiu's head, the expected scene of brain matter splattering did not happen. Li Zongjiu stood in the same place, appearing extremely stable. He did not even move a single step. You want to challenge me with this level of skill? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. In the next second, he directly broke Hua Third Master's hand. Crack! A crisp breaking sound rang out. No one expected Li Zongjiu to be so decisive. He directly broke Hua Third Master's arm. If Li Zongjiu was not strong enough, he would have been killed by Hua Third Master's palm. What? Hua Third Master covered his broken arm. He looked at Li Zongjiu with a face full of shock. He did not dare to believe his eyes. He used his head to take a palm strike, but he was still unharmed. And now, he had even broken one of his arms. Who are you? Tell me your name if you have the ability. Hua Third Master covered his broken arm. The young man in front of him was abnormally strong. If he fought him head-on, he would not be able to gain any advantage. My name is Li Zongjiu. If you want revenge, come to White Deer Manor. I guarantee that no matter how many of you come, you will all die. Also, if you are looking for a woman, get lost. If you dare to take half a step into the Qi family, I will definitely take your life. Scram! Li Zongjiu said coldly. His tone left no room for discussion. Hua Qing's nose was bleeding from the punch, but it did not mean that he did not have the ability to fight or temper. Hua Qing immediately stood up. You are courting death. He screamed and rushed towards Li Zongjiu. No! Hua third master wanted to stop Hua Qing, but it was too late. Hua Qing was sent flying by Li Zongjiu's kick. The distance between the hall and the entrance was about 50 meters. Hua Qing landed on the street outside the Li family's entrance. Pfft! Hua Qing could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. If Li Zongjiu had used any more strength in his kick, Hua Qing would have been cut in half. Now that he landed on the ground, he felt a sense of comfort. Hua third master saw Hua Qing's miserable state. Without thinking, he knew that he would end up in a miserable state. It was all because of Li Zongjiu. This brat was so ruthless. You are very good. I admit defeat today. Hua third master was not impulsive. He just took a deep breath. Li Zongjiu did not kill him directly. It could be considered that he had a card up his sleeve. If Li Zongjiu killed Hua Qing today, Hua third master would use all means to make Li Zongjiu suffer. The reason why Li Zongjiu did not kill him was not because he wanted to kill him today. After all, this was Qi Yanran's house. It would be impolite to kill in someone's house. It was also surprising that Li Zongjiu would think like this. When he went to the Shi family and killed many people in Qingyuan Villa, he did not have such awareness. So it was very rare. Hua third master also covered his broken arm and walked out. It was as if he was leaving with his tail between his legs. I remember that the Hua family is one of the 4 major army families. It seems that they are not to be trifled with. Li Yun stood up and said. After all, she was now a woman who controlled the resources of the underground black market. It doesn't matter what family comes. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. If Hua Qing came to harass Qi Yanran again, he would not let him go easily. He would let him die here. He would not have the chance to regret it. You don't have to worry about this. I will help you deal with the Hua family. Li Yun said. Oh. Li Zongjiu looked at Li Yun in surprise. Li Yun had not left Luoxia City for long, but she had developed such a sharp temper. She probably learned this temper from the King of Fire. Obviously, she was going to become a person who was not to be trifled with in the Sacred Flame Imperial City. Zongjiu. Qi Yanran walked in from outside the house and saw Li Zongjiu and Li Yun. She heard some noise and came out to take a look. She heard from the people in the house that Li Zongjiu had kicked Hua Qing of the Hua family and sent him flying. He landed on the street outside the house. It was rare to see such a scene. All of them were extremely excited, especially the young disciples of the Qi clan. This was really too cool. Some of them didn't even dare to let out a fart when they saw the Hua clan's patriarch leave with his tail between his legs. After becoming strong, it was easy to understand what he said. With a single punch, he understood everything that he didn't understand. Just now, I kicked one of your childhood sweethearts out of here. Li Zongjiu said. What are you talking about? I used to be in the same class as him, but I haven't seen him since. Qi Yanran heard Li Zongjiu's words and was obviously a little angry. Ha! Li Zongjiu saw Qi Yanran's attitude and laughed. Qi Yanran then understood that Li Zongjiu was deliberately teasing her. You! If not for the fact that she could not defeat Li Zongjiu, Qi Yanran would definitely fight with Li Zongjiu. TSK, you young people talk. This old woman will leave first. By the way, I will help you send the gifts you prepared to their housekeeper. Li Yun also waved her hand. Obviously, she did not want to stay in such a place for a second longer. Chapter 969. You beat up the Hua family so badly, they definitely won't let you off so easily. Qi Yanran said worriedly. After all, the Hua family was not an ordinary family. Even the Qi family did not dare to offend them. In fact, the Qi family avoided them like the plague, afraid that they would offend them. Even though Li Zongjiu had helped her vent her anger and made the Qi family proud, it was still too dangerous. This kind of behavior could easily anger the Hu family. I naturally don't care about the Hu family. In the future, when our families work together, we don't have to be afraid of the whole world. Li Zongjiu pulled Qi Yanran into his arms. He seemed to have said too many harsh words over the past few days. If he did not continue to work hard in his cultivation, he would soon become lazy. Do you want to stay at my place? The manor has just been built, and it's not bad. How can I do that? You haven't even asked for my hand in marriage, Qi Yanran said softly. Even though Qi Yanran had never thought about getting married so early, when she said it, she still felt a little shy. She was not married yet, and she had to stay at Li Zongjiu's mansion. What would other people think of her when she went out? Girls were shy, but they still cared about their dignity. Ha, all right. Then you should work hard in your cultivation as well. If you need anything, just tell me. I have a few things to take care of. Li Zongjiu said. Is it about that? Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjiu. Before they left, Wan Yulan had leaked the information to Li Zongjiu. The ancient Zhang family followed them like shadows. Even if they crossed an entire dynasty, it would be difficult to stop them. They had to ensure their safety. The assassination skills of the ancient Zhang family were unparalleled in the world. Even in the Shengyan dynasty, they were famous. There are still some things. Don't worry, I've already sent people to take care of them. As long as they show up, I'll cripple them. Li Zongjiu said flatly. So what if you're from the ancient Zhang family? You've been calling them names for a long time, but they don't even know your surnames. What's the point of fooling around like this? Therefore, Li Zongjiu was also extremely disdainful and did not put these people in his eyes. Yes, be careful. Qi Yanran nodded. Previously, I refined a myriad wood pill for your father. Right now, you are still unable to refine these pills. Once your cultivation has stabilized a little, I will refine more for you. Don't underestimate me, I'm also an alchemist. Qi Yanran was a little unconvinced. Everyone was an alchemist. It was as if she was just an alchemist in name. She had real skills. The two of them separated after a while. Could it be that Qi Shaohun had dug a well on the spot? Even if the well was dug on the spot, he should have returned by now. Obviously, this old man had also secretly hidden the pill. This was a high-grade 6th grade medicinal pill. It was 2 grades higher than the medicinal pill sent by the Hu family. These 2 grades were not to be underestimated. There were countless grade 6 alchemists who could not cross it even if they worked hard. The barrier between realms was right in front of them, and it was not something they could cross just because they wanted to. After leaving the Qi family, Li Yun took the carriage away. If he did not spend money, Li Zongjiu could only walk back. After all, he was not in a hurry for the next few days. He could focus his energy and deal with the ancient Zhang family first. The people from Thousand Machine Workshop had already set up an inescapable net. Right now, everything that happened in any corner of Holy Flame Royal City would quickly reach Li Zongjiu's ears. In the Royal City, the ancient Zhang family had already sent 2 elites. In order to ensure the completion of this mission and bring back Li Zongjiu's head once and for all, Chia sent out 2 people. Under normal circumstances, 1 person would be enough to complete the task. Zhang Feng, let's rest here today. The 2 of them came to a casino. There were 2 big words written on it. Bo Yu. Bo Yu Casino. With their status, if they were to stay in any tavern or inn, they would be quickly discovered by others. Their actions and traces would be exposed very quickly. This was obviously not a good habit. Therefore, casinos were often the best hiding places. This was because there were all kinds of people in the casino. There were all kinds of people, and all kinds of people would go to the casino. There were countless people every day, and it was extremely difficult to track down a single person. Of the two people who came, one was called Zhang Feng. He was an elite among the younger generation of the ancient Zhang family. His goal was to kill anyone below the primitive emperor realm. The other person was the helper of this mission, Zhang Yisaro. He must have been a handsome young master when he was young. However, in their line of work, they could not be seen in the light. If they had a conflict with someone on the street, they could only swallow their anger. Zhang Yisaro was one of the top 5 assassins in the ancient Zhang family. In one night, he had killed 3 primitive emperor realm powerhouses in a row, and his achievement was enough to make people tremble in fear. It also made the people of the ancient Zhang family see Zhang Yisoro's ability and potential. He was only 35 years old, but he was already one of the top 5 assassins in the family. He was really powerful. This mission was really tough. We actually rushed for 5 days. Zhang Feng said. The two of them were dressed very normally, as if they were accompanying guards or escorts. It was very normal for people like them to come out and gamble. When the two of them walked into Boyu Casino, it was also very natural. It was a pity that the two of them were wrong. They should not have come to Boyu Casino. There were more than 100 casinos in Sacred Flame Royal City. As long as they paid the protection fee to Boyu Casino on time, it could continue to operate. After all, the casino industry could only flourish if everyone did business. The two top assassins who came from afar walked directly into Li Zongjiu's territory. They were completely unaware of it. Tai-Fi had already received an order from White Deer Manor in the morning to use all resources to search for people who came from outside the country. Just as Tai-Fi was about to make arrangements, he heard a subordinate report that 2 unknown experts had come to the casino. The casino industry in Sacred Flame Royal City. Boyu Casino was fully deserving of its title as the leader of the industry. They had already figured out the ins and outs of the industry. The VIPs who came and went were all rich people with potential. They were all there to give away money, so they naturally knew everything. Therefore, when the 2 people who came from outside the country walked in, they were already seen through. They just entered the city and bought clothes from Wang Mazi's shop. Wang Mazi saw the 2 of them and said that the clothes they were wearing were not made of Xingyan dynasty materials and workmanship. Chapter 970. After a few rounds of judgment, the identities of these 2 people were as clear as day. Tai-Fi ordered not to act rashly and alert the enemy. Everything should proceed as usual, and he immediately went to inform the young master of this news. The carriage sped along. Originally, Tai-Fi wanted to drive directly to Bailu Manor, but halfway there, he saw a person who looked like Li Zongjiu. Taking a closer look, it was really Li Zongjiu. Young master. Young master. Tai-Fi stopped the carriage. Li Zongjiu was strolling around the street stalls, wanting to buy something for Qi Yanran. Anyway, he was just strolling around and looking at the rag dolls on the street. When he was holding them in his hand and looking at them carefully, a figure jumped down from the carriage and came in front of Li Zongjiu and said. Tai-Fi saw that Li Zongjiu was holding 2 rag dolls in his hand, and his face became extremely strange. Young master was indeed young master, he had some hobbies that ordinary people couldn't understand. Tai-Fi. What's wrong? Li Zongjiu originally wanted to go to the casino to see if there were any changes in the casino recently. After all, it had been so long, there should be some progress. Li Zongjiu spent a lot of energy on this in the early stage, and now it was time to reap the harvest. Young master, you asked us to track down the killers from outside the country. We have some clues. Tai-Fi said. Oh. So fast. Li Zongjiu was about to leave with the 2 rag dolls when the stall owner hurriedly shouted. Boss, you haven't paid yet. Tai-Fi directly threw a few gold coins. Even the broken dolls in the stall could be bought with a single gold coin. Li Zongjiu and Tai-Fi got into the carriage. In the carriage, Tai-Fai also told Li Zongjiu in detail about the discovery of these two people. That should be pretty good. He's actually so arrogant to come knocking on my door. Li Zongjiu's eyes were also filled with cold light. Didn't they say that they were assassins? They actually came directly to destroy the venue. They were clearly targeting Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu had even more reason to go up against these two people from the ancient Zhang family. Inside the Broad Joy Casino, Tai-Fai had already sent people to guard the various exits. There was a corner in Bo Yu Casino that was dedicated to resting. After all, they couldn't gamble here all day long. Sometimes, they needed to rest for more than 10 minutes, or they would eat something to refresh themselves. Zhang Feng and Zhang Yisaro occupied a VIP lounge. They rested comfortably on large chairs made of tiger skin. As the two of them rested, a commotion came from outside the door. It was obvious that this casino was very popular. It was daytime, but there were still so many people here. The situation was extremely intense. The two of them listened to the commotion outside and rested more peacefully. Outside the casino, the carriage stopped. Where are they? Tai-Fai asked. In the VIP lounge, they gave the people inside some money and sent them out. The person in the casino said. Then, he stared straight at the young master. There were many new faces in the casino, and naturally, there were many more talents. There were many alchemists in White Deer Manor who were constantly refining pills to provide for the people of these big factions to cultivate and increase their strength. Otherwise, the overall strength of White Deer Manor wouldn't have increased so quickly. In the early stages, they desperately spent money. Of course, the money that was thrown out was also recovered through other means. All of it was earned back. Currently, there were already 6 Yuan monarch-level powerhouses overseeing the Great Delight Casino. All of them obeyed Tai-Fai's orders. Some people had only heard that the real owner of Bo Yu Casino was a young master called Li Zongjiu. Many people had heard of Li Zongjiu's reputation. There were even various legends about Li Zongjiu circulating in Bo Yu Casino. Very few of the newcomers had seen Li Zongjiu before. He was an extremely mysterious existence who held such a huge force in his hands. It was obvious that Li Zongjiu's strength was extremely terrifying. Otherwise, given Tai-Fai's current strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to establish his own faction. However, Tai-Fai was still loyal and never dared to have any second thoughts. Such a loyal person was even more admirable. However, the person who saw the deeper reason was that the boss above Tai-Fai was the truly powerful one. Stop looking. This is our young master. If you keep looking, I'll dig your eyeballs out. Ah, yes, this lowly one greets young master. The person hurriedly said respectfully. After Li Zongjiu arrived, the people in the casino quickly cleared the place and sealed the door. Zhang Feng and Zhang Shan, who had been rushing for 5 days, suddenly woke up with a start. Something's wrong. Zhang Yishan flipped over and immediately reached for the dagger at his waist. There was a sharp glint in his eyes. His entire aura was restrained and he was like a ferocious tiger waiting to pounce. What's going on? Zhang Feng was a little confused. There's no sound outside. Zhang Yishan said in a low voice. Maybe the door is closed. Zhang Feng woke up and entered a state of alert. If the door was closed, they should have been woken up. Zhang Yishan dug a small hole in the wall. Just as he was about to peek, he saw a strong man swinging his fist at him from outside the wall. Boom! The wall shattered. A big hole was revealed. Come out! Zhang Yishan put away the dagger in his hand, and the murderous aura on his body disappeared. As a professional assassin, he had to cover up all his aura. He couldn't just walk into a place and let people know that he was an assassin. Concealing oneself was what a top-notch assassin should do. Zhang Yishan gestured to Zhang Feng. This gesture meant that he was ready to retreat at any time. However, it was better to go out and check the situation first. What if it was a misunderstanding? When the two of them walked out, they saw that the gambling tables around them had all been put away. A black mass of ferocious-looking people was staring at the two of them. Both the upper and lower floors were filled with these thugs. Such a large formation made Zhang Yishang and Zhang Yi puzzled. What's going on? Could it be that they were robbed? Is this actually a shady shop? A boy in gray sat at the center. There was a stack of peanuts and a pot of Biluakun tea in front of the boy's table. Drinking tea and eating peanuts was indeed a perfect match in the world of martial artists. I wonder how the two of us have offended you, big brothers, for you to have to put up such a formation. Zhang Yishan asked with a chuckle. Naturally, they were not afraid of the formation, but they had to look a little cowardly. Only then would the people across them lower their guard. Under normal circumstances, they would keep a low profile if they could. They would only attack when their lives were threatened, and they would not attack easily. Zhang Feng looked like a young man who had just entered the city from the countryside. If he needed to, he only needed 5 minutes to kill all the people in front of him. However, the ancient Zhang family was trained as an assassin. It was very expensive for them to kill people. Under normal circumstances, he would not kill anyone. Chapter 971. Faced with the current situation, Burying Night Sorrow was also thinking about how he had been careless and ended up being surrounded. It was too embarrassing. As a professional assassin, this situation was simply an insult to him. However, on the surface, he had been pretending to be ignorant. He wanted to tell the people in front of him that they had mistaken him for someone else. At the same time, when Burying Night Sorrow saw the gray-robed young man in front of him, he felt that he was familiar. However, he had never seen the gray-robed young man before. You're sent by the ancient Zhang family, right? I'm Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu said. Before he made his move, Li Zhongjiu was also thinking about how to deal with the two people in front of him. If he directly killed them, it would be a waste. With the skills of these two people, it would be a good choice to make them into shadow guards. That was because the two of them were good at pretending. Before this, the White Deer Manor had always been in a don't offend others situation. But now, if the Li family wanted to expand, they would have to use sufficient means. They needed to store up enough power to continuously become stronger and be prepared for danger in times of peace. If they continued to be in such a peaceful state throughout the process, they would definitely be beaten down in the future. If they did not improve, their enemies would. When that time came, they would encounter the same thing that their enemies had encountered before. They would be easily defeated. When Burying Night Sorrow heard that, he was instantly shocked. However, he still looked confused on the surface. Sir, what do you mean by that? I don't know, Burying Night Sorrow kept playing dumb. However, there was already a storm raging in his heart. Li Zhongjiu. Fuck, isn't that the target of the mission? Based on the Burying Night clan's style of doing things, they would collect enough information before taking action, then use all kinds of methods to create opportunities. However, this time, because the target was the Shenyan dynasty, they could not obtain the most timely information. Therefore, they needed to conduct an on-site investigation. Who would have thought that as soon as he arrived, he would be captured by Li Zhongjiu as soon as he settled down? Wasn't this a little too powerful? Could it be that he was the current crown prince? What a terrifying force. It had directly attracted them to this place and lured them into the trap set by Li Zhongjiu. They had unknowingly fallen for it. There must have been a lot of hints along the way. Burying Night Sorrow tried his best to recall where he had gone wrong. These were all fatal mistakes. However, no matter how hard Zhang Night Sorrow tried to recall, he couldn't find any flaws. After all, he had chosen the Great Delight Casino himself. They had accidentally stumbled into Li Zhongjiu's territory, so they couldn't blame anyone else. Zhang Feng's facial expression was also very well disguised. The terror and fear in his eyes were also very well disguised. He looked at the scene in front of him with great timidity. As an assassin, there's no need for you to go back alive if you expose yourself. However, I'm in a good mood today, so one of you can live. Li Zongjiu said flatly. It was naturally impossible for these people to trap the two elites from the ancient Zhang family. Li Zongjiu didn't count on these people either. However, the two of them could forget about escaping in front of Li Zongjiu. Ha, although we don't know what you're talking about, I'm afraid these people are still not enough to stop us. Zhang Night Sorrow said coldly. Although we're from the countryside, we're not easy to bully. As soon as he said this, he immediately acted as if he wanted to fight. It was completely like an ordinary person who was deliberately pretending to fight. Ha, young master, don't worry. Leave these two bumpkins to us. Immediately, a Yuan King elite walked out. He only needed one palm to kill the two ants in front of him. Just as the Yuan King elite attacked, Zhang Feng also took a step forward and pressed his finger on the other party's acupuncture point. He directly pushed the Yuan King elite back. He kept retreating backward. In the end, he sat on the ground. He couldn't tell that these two were true elites. All of you, back off. Li Zongjiu said. Young master, the two of us didn't mean to offend you. If you want money, feel free to take it. However, if you think that the two of us are easy to bully, then I'm afraid it won't end well today. Immediately, the middle-aged man, Zhang Night Sorrow, also slightly released his aura. It formed a threat. Even in front of Li Zongjiu and the others, he wasn't afraid. In addition, his attack just now was a deterrent to the others. Is that so? Li Zongjiu stood up. Zhang Night Sorrow and Zhang Feng both took a step back. The moment Li Zongjiu moved, he immediately felt a wave of pressure coming at him. This was clearly an extremely terrifying murderous aura. Their many years of killing experience told them that the Li Zongjiu before them was a sleeping ferocious beast. Once they came into contact with him, they would definitely face an extremely terrifying situation. Be careful. Zhang Night Sorrow reminded Zhang Feng, who was behind him. However, in the next second, Li Zongjiu's figure was already in front of them. Boom! Each of them sent out a palm strike. Immediately, the two of them felt an extremely powerful threat descending upon them. They had to use all their strength to block it. Oh no! Bang bang! The two of them were directly sent flying. Zhang Night Sorrow fell to the ground, while Zhang Feng crashed into a stone pillar. The inner armor on their bodies shattered immediately. Pfft! Zhang Night Sorrow spat out a mouthful of blood. Run! In the instant that they exchanged blows, they knew that Li Zongjiu was too powerful. He had already exceeded the level that they could withstand. This mission was indeed not that simple. In a direct confrontation, the assassins were already at a disadvantage. Originally, they wanted to carry out the assassination plan. However, now that they were forced to face him, they could only escape. Enduring the intense pain in his body, he wanted to turn around and escape. However, he realized that his strength had disappeared. What? This is. When he felt the power in his body disappear, Zhang Feng also felt it. His strength seemed to have been covered up, and he could not use any of his origin energy. It was Li Zongjiu's doing. I didn't expect this talisman stone to be so useful. This should be called the Lost Soul Talisman. I found it in the Ghost King's secret realm. Its effect can last for 3 days. Director Li said with a faint smile. What the hell? Zhang Night Sorrow had never encountered such a situation before. In fact, it was the first time that he was caught before he could even take action. He did not even know what to do. He reckoned that he had fallen into Li Zongjiu's hands this time. There was no chance for him to escape. Holy Flame Capital City was his territory. Under the situation where there was no essence energy, how could they possibly escape this Li Zongjiu's demonic claws? We're really not from the ancient Zong family. Hero, you've got the wrong person. Zong Knight Sorrow said stubbornly. Isn't the word ancient Zong carved on it? Li Zongjiu took out a dagger. When he saw the dagger, Zong Knight Sorrow touched his body and found that his dagger was indeed gone. Li Zongjiu's stealing skills were quite good. He had been caught red-handed. Zong Knight Sorrow and Zong Feng also put away their previous attitude. Don't struggle. Even if you kill the two of us, there will be more experts coming. Even if you hide here, you won't be able to escape. Zong Knight Sorrow said coldly. Zong Feng was even more shocked. The man in front of him was about the same age as him, but he was able to kill the two of them in an instant. At the same time. When it came to assassination, Zong Feng was naturally confident that he was better than Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu's strength was too abnormal. Zong Knight Sorrow's strength was already at the first stage Origin Emperor realm, but he was still ambushed by Li Zongjiu. If an assassin at the first stage Origin Emperor realm prepared carefully for an assassination, it would be easy to kill a third stage Origin Emperor realm expert, or even a fourth stage Origin Emperor realm expert. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, they did not have the slightest ability to fight back. Moreover, their strength was sealed. All of you can stay here and be properly disciplined. Li Zongjiu said. Next, it was Taifai's turn. Taifai was naturally familiar with disciplining people. He directly used torture tools to lock up the two of them. Chapter 972. Just like that, two of the ancient Zong family's top assassins became prisoners. The change and development of the situation was unexpected. Before they could even take action, they were already captured by Li Zongjiu. He was too domineering. However, being trapped in this place gave the two of them a chance. At least they still had time. Besides, they were in a place like this. If they wanted to assassinate Li Zongjiu, they would have enough time to gather information. Li Zongjiu was powerful, but his mistake was that he was too arrogant. You actually allowed two assassins to do things under your nose. The information they can gather will be beyond your imagination. As long as they were not harmed, they still had a chance to complete their mission. What they needed to do now was to lay low in this place. Wait for an opportunity to appear. Li Zongjiu naturally did not have that much time to play with the two assassins. The soul-losing talisman was a treasure he found in the Ghost King's secret realm. It was not easy to remove it. Li Zongjiu was confident that he could control them for 3 days. Back in White Deer Manor, Li Zongjiu entered the training room. The demonic hammer in his hand seemed to want to go berserk again. By the looks of it, it needed fresh blood to nurture it. Motherfucker, what the hell are you? Since you like to cause trouble, I'll train you properly. Li Zongjiu had long been annoyed by the hammer. It kept causing trouble for him, so it was no wonder that Li Zongjiu was so angry. Li Zongjiu immediately summoned the Shura cauldron in his hand. The Shura cauldron fell to the ground with a bang. There were 3 grooves in the ground that were specifically used to place the legs of the Shura cauldron. Li Zongjiu threw the demonic hammer in his hand into one of the grooves. The demonic hammer in front of him seemed to be extremely manic. It was rampaging inside the Shura cauldron, trying to break out. So manic. Li Zongjiu did not hold back. He immediately summoned the 3 Yuan dragons and suppressed the demonic hammer. When the demonic hammer sensed the appearance of the Yuan dragons, it seemed to be slightly fearful. At that moment, it calmed down. Li Zongjiu activated the obsidian fire to refine it. Although the obsidian fire was strong, it seemed to be powerless in front of the demonic hammer. Li Zongjiu suddenly felt the darkness Yuan dragon in his body that had never cultivated, evolved, and had never been of any use. But at that moment, it appeared on its own initiative and rushed towards the demonic hammer. Boom! the demonic hammer's body immediately, as if it was hit by a huge blow. Seeing this, Li Zongjiu's white dragon yuan spirit also turned into a pure mental energy. Li Zongjiu separated a part of his consciousness and landed on the white dragon yuan spirit. He directly entered the Azura cauldron and instantly entered the inner world of the demonic hammer. At this moment, black dragon flames were lingering around Devil Hammer. This was the black dragon yuan spirit attacking with all its might. The black dragon yuan spirit was indeed difficult to deal with. However, the black dragon yuan spirit was already half subdued by Li Zongjiu. Thus, Li Zongjiu couldn't find the time to deal with it. When Li Zongjiu drove the white dragon yuan spirit into the inner world of the demonic hammer, immediately, he felt the energy coming from the surroundings. It turned out that there was a resentment force inside the demonic hammer that had been entangled with it. Li Zongjiu also only saw it now. It was like a curse that had been engraved on the demonic hammer. After the darkness origin dragon appeared, it used its darkness dragon flames to burn away the curse before it. Boom! The power of the curse emerged and erupted from time to time, requiring Li Zongjiu to constantly kill people and suppress it with fresh blood. Even Li Zongjiu had never seen such a situation before. But Li Zongjiu could feel that he was extremely young in front of this curse. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had cultivated for 3,000 years. Logically speaking, everything in the world had a feeling of youth. Even if it was a 100-year-old tree or a 1,000-year-old ancient tree, its sense of history was not as strong as Li Zongjiu's. But in front of the power of the curse, Li Zongjiu was like an incomparably tender sprout. To be able to give Li Zongjiu such a feeling, this meant that this curse was no longer an existence of the same era as Li Zongjiu. The Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul also desperately displayed its heaven-defying methods. In the end, after a bitter battle, the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul used its broken body, but under the majesty of the Supreme Dragon's soul, it also directly broke the curse that had existed for an unknown period of time. At the same time, the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul also fell on the demonic hammer. A force repelled Li Zongjiu and the white dragon Yuan spirit outside. After exiting the inner world of the demonic hammer, Li Zongjiu's figure fell back. Seeing this scene, the demonic hammer in the Azura cauldron was constantly releasing the power of the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul. It's transforming into an artifact spirit? Li Zongjiu did not stop this from happening. With the temperament of the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul, if its strength was insufficient, it would absolutely not appear so easily. This time, it took the initiative to pursue and attack, which was enough to show that even the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul had its eyes on this hammer. Under the cooperation of two strong entities, they would only become stronger. Looks like this transformation still needs some time. Li Zongjiu placed the undying cauldron here. Just as he was about to cultivate, a loud noise suddenly sounded. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion in the manor. Then, an extremely terrifying force was released and soared into the sky. Boom! As the force soared into the sky, almost the entire royal city was shaken. It was so powerful. The entire royal city's attention was focused on the White Deer Manor. Li Zongjiu did not panic. He knew that this must be the movement of Nangong Wuji's breakthrough. Not bad. He recovered in half a day. It seems that he has made some progress. He could sense that Nangong Wuji had directly stepped into the 7th grade primitive emperor realm. He could easily overturn mountains and seas. Nangong Wuji couldn't help but laugh out loud when he saw such a terrifying power. Damn it! I've endured for so long. Finally, I've made it. Nangong Wuji immediately laughed out loud. Fortunately, the White Deer Manor was big enough. Otherwise, if his laughter was heard by the neighbors, they would think that there was a madman in the manor. The 9th prince, who was wiping the floor of the alchemy building, was stunned when he heard the noise. Nangong Wuji. Isn't that the founder of the Wuji Palace? What a powerful force. Primitive Emperor Realm. He's at least in the late stage of the primitive emperor realm. Lu Wenshan gazed at the sky and said. In the next moment, Nangong Wuji rushed toward the back mountain. Obviously, Nangong Wuji had just made a breakthrough and had nowhere to vent his cultivation. In the manner, only Li Zongjiu was strong enough for Nangong Wuji to fight. The King of Fire had already left. However, even if Nangong Wuji went to find the King of Fire, he would not dare to be too arrogant. Therefore, Nangong Wuji rushed toward the Sky Blaze Lion. He wanted to fight the Sky Blaze Lion one-on-one. These days, the Sky Blaze Lion had become fatter under the care of the Yuan Beast Workshop. Although it did not need to go out to look for food, it only needed to cultivate every day. However, the ferocious beast aura that reached the heavens was still difficult to conceal when he attacked. Ahem, I have something to do today. I'll fight with you another day. When Nangong Wuji got closer to the Sky Blaze Lion, he felt that the other party's temper was not good. Therefore, Nangong Wuji turned around and left without hesitation. Sky Blaze Lion, you always steal the spiritual fruits I plant. Today, I'm going to fight with you. After saying that, Nangong Wuji rushed toward the Sky Blaze Lion with an aggressive aura. However, the Sky Blaze Lion was very good at burrowing. When it burrowed down, no one knew where it was hiding. Nangong Wuji could not find it. In the end, he had no choice but to fight with Hong Shi-san. How could Hong Shi-san be willing to fight with this guy? He directly said that he was going to beg for food and ran out with his broken bowl. Chapter 973. Nangong Wuji, who had been wandering around for a whole day, was on the verge of exploding. Just as Nangong Wuji was about to rush to the Imperial Palace or some other place to show off his skills, a figure suddenly appeared. A figure blocked Nangong Wuji's way. Oh, you've made a breakthrough. Li Zongjiu looked at Nangong Wuji with a strange smile on his face. Nangong Wuji, who was familiar with Li Zongjiu, started to panic. Usually, nothing good would come out of Li Zongjiu's appearance. Now that Li Zongjiu had taken the initiative to appear in front of him with such a strange smile, Nangong Wuji became vigilant. Hee, not bad, not bad. This medicinal pill of yours is quite fierce. Nangong Wuji rubbed his hands and looked around for something. Finally, he realized something. I still have a building blueprint that I haven't finished yet. If you can withstand one of my attacks, I'll refine another elixir for you. Nangong Wuji turned around and was about to leave. However, when he heard Li Zongjiu's words, he suddenly stopped. No one could resist such a temptation. Moreover, Nangong Wuji had just tasted the sweetness of the elixir. The feeling of his strength skyrocketing was really amazing. If he could do it again, he felt that he would return to the time when he was young and strong. You said it yourself. Nangong Wuji suddenly became excited. He looked at Li Zongjiu in front of him, fearing that Li Zongjiu would go back on his words. Come on, I don't believe that I can't withstand one of your attacks. Nangong Wuji said as he activated his defensive aura. Since he only needed to withstand one attack, he didn't need to do too much. He only needed to activate his defensive aura to withstand Li Zongjiu's attack to the greatest extent. If he were to fight Li Zongjiu one-on-one, he might not have a chance of winning. Even after his breakthrough, Nangong Wuji didn't dare to boast that he could defeat Li Zongjiu. That was not a problem. I've been cultivating the Wuji Universe Shield for many years just to deal with arrogant people like you. Yuanli surged around Nangong Wuji's body and circulated around him. The Yuanli could be seen gathering little by little, forming a kind of defense with heaven and earth. It was connecting heaven and earth. There were no gaps. If this was in any other place, this move alone would be enough to dominate and suppress all other heroes. When Li Zongjiu saw this move, Nangong Wuji, he smiled. Of Nangong Wuji's attack. If you're ready, I'll come. Then, Li Zongjiu extended his hand and beckoned, and a small black hammer appeared in his hand. thereof of known Wujis of Yuan Lizhe saw. If one were to take a closer look, they would see that the patterns on it were in the shape of a giant dragon. Li Zongjiu lifted the hammer in his hand and walked towards Nangong Wuji. Nangong Wuji was about 20 meters away from Nangong Wuji. He lifted the hammer and smashed it down. Li Zongjiu's action was as simple as smashing a nail. Nangong Wuji couldn't even sense any yuan energy fluctuation from Li Zongjiu's body. However, this move made Nangong Wuji's expression change drastically. What? The defensive shield in front of Nangong Wuji was torn apart inch by inch, as if it was withstanding a terrifying force. Fuck! What's going on? Nangong Wuji didn't even have the chance to sense the source of this force. Soon, his defensive shield was torn apart. Fuck! Nangong Wuji couldn't withstand the great pressure from this force. He jumped up, but it was too late to escape. The invisible force from the hammer sent Nangong Wuji flying hundreds of meters away. Nangong Wuji was smashed out of White Deer Manor. Nangong Wuji flew far away and disappeared. Although Nangong Wuji did this to reduce the force and prevent himself from getting hurt, he still smashed a big hole in the ground when he landed. This guy, this force. Nangong Wuji was frightened. Nangong Wuji almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The hidden energy almost rushed into his body and damaged it. Fortunately, he managed to withstand it in the end. However, this move was too terrifying for Nangong Wuji. He forced the hidden force out of his body. Fortunately, he had chosen a place with few people when he landed. By the time the special envoy arrived, Nangong Wuji had already disappeared. Nangong Wuji couldn't help but admire Li Zongjiu when he returned. Your hammer, what kind of hammer is it? Nangong Wuji asked in shock. It's a new name. Let's call it Black Dragon Hammer. Li Zongjiu tossed the hammer in his hand. The Black Dragon primordial spirit had already fused with the Black Dragon Hammer, so it was now in his hand. Li Zongjiu already had 2 weapons, both of which possessed weapon spirits. This was very rare. The power of the Black Dragon Hammer was unimaginable. Even Nangong Wuji was easily defeated by Li Zongjiu when he fully released his defensive power. If Li Zongjiu's strength was a little stronger, it would be even more terrifying. Black Dragon Hammer. Did you make it yourself? No, I picked it up outside. Li Zongjiu said. It was more or less picked up. After all, it was in that place and had never been moved. It was just that no one had thought of it and no one had been able to get it. Amazing, Nangong Wuji said with heartfelt admiration. Don't give it such an arrogant name. Otherwise, people will really think that there is a dragon in it. Li Zongjiu didn't deny it and just smiled. It's more frightening. People will be scared when they hear it. Although the name sounds a little silly, when a giant dragon really appears in this disposal, then you guys will be in for a surprise. I heard that you recently offended the Hu family. Do you want me to help you? Nangong Wuji said. After all, the Hu family had a military background. Li Zongjiu's matter was not serious, but it was not trivial either. He broke the arm of the Hu family's 3rd master and threw the young talent of the Hu family, Hu Qing, on the street. This was almost a slap to the family's face. No, it's just a Hu family. Li Zongjiu shook his head. Li Yun was already dealing with this matter. If the Hu family really had the guts, they would have already come to kill them. The Hu family could wait until now. Obviously, Li Yun had stopped them. Li Zongjiu didn't care what the situation was. You're really quite capable. Nangong Wuji knew about the Hu family's situation. Li Zongjiu was able to deal with them without batting an eyelid, which was enough to prove his strength. It was not just a few casinos or pawnshops that could deal with them. It's still early. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. His current achievements and power were obviously not enough for Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu had a broader world to explore in the future. Nangong Wuji couldn't see through the young man in front of him. At the same time, he wanted to see how far Li Zongjiu could go. If ordinary people had Li Zongjiu's achievements, they would have drifted to God knows where long ago. However, Li Zongjiu was as steady as ever. He was never arrogant. He even hid his strength and bided his time. He kept improving his strength and didn't care about external factors at all. A person who could achieve this was truly terrifying. Being powerful for a while was nothing. There would always be a time when one would encounter difficulties or even meet someone who was stronger than one. However, Li Zongjiu was never complacent. He was even clear about his goals. Either Li Zongjiu had seen the world, or Li Zongjiu had experienced a great tribulation. What kind of situation was it? Nangong Wuji naturally couldn't figure it out. Chapter 974. Although Nangong Wuji had lost the battle, he couldn't even withstand a single blow from Li Zongjiu. Were the young people nowadays so powerful? Were they not giving the old people a chance to survive? If this continued, the old people like them wouldn't be able to survive anymore. Therefore, Li Zongjiu could eliminate them at any time. However, Li Zongjiu said that if Nangong Wuji was willing, he could stay in the White Deer Manor for a year. At the same time, he could help him train the disciples of the Li family when he was free. He could guarantee that Nangong Wuji's cultivation would reach the peak of the primitive emperor realm within 2 years. If other people dared to make such a promise, Nangong Wuji would definitely slap them to death. However, since it was Li Zongjiu, everything was different. Nangong Wuji knew that Li Zongjiu would do what he said. Therefore, Nangong Wuji trusted Li Zongjiu very much. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to get such an opportunity even if they wanted it. However, Nangong Wuji came at the right time. Anyway, Li Zongjiu didn't restrict his personal freedom, let alone 2 years. Moreover, what could happen in Monarch City? The 4 primitive emperor-level soul beasts in the back of the mountain weren't vegetarians. They basically ate meat. Therefore, Nangong Wuji had picked up a great bargain. Moreover, the White Deer Manor was designed by him. Naturally, it was very familiar to live in such a place. Nangong Wuji agreed without hesitation. The place where Nangong Wuji and the other experts lived was designated as the guest courtyard. After testing the power of the Black Dragon Hammer, Li Zongjiu was very satisfied. Night fell. Lu Pei came to report that Su Sha of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had come to see him. What's the matter? Li Zongjiu invited Su Sha to sit down. Su Sha's ability was pretty good. Li Zongjiu also thought highly of her, but she still needed to temper herself. Of course, there's good news. Previously, the upper echelons of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion were discussing about giving you a reward. They've already received it. Now, they've asked me to deliver it to you. Su Sha said with a mysterious smile. Oh. There really is something here. I thought this trip was a waste. Li Zongjiu said. In fact, this trip to the Haiku dynasty was not a loss at all. Li Zongjiu had never been at a disadvantage. It was always others who were at a disadvantage. Until now, the people of the Hell Arena were still looking for Li Zongjiu, the man codenamed Evil Lord. This Evil Lord had killed 2 of the strongest experts in the arena and disappeared without a trace. Of course, some people also said that this Evil Lord was Li Zongjiu of the Shengyan dynasty. He was one of the top alchemists in the 3 dynasties pill gathering. Not only did he have great fighting strength, but he also knew how to refine pills. Where could such a person be found? This time, returning from the Haiku dynasty was not a loss. He had obtained many benefits. The Black Dragon Hammer was one of them. The other was this Qi Yanran. Even Li Zongjiu did not expect such a thing to happen. It happened naturally. This was unanimously approved by the parliament. Deputy Pavilion Master Chu spent a lot of time talking. Su Sha took out the item from her storage ring. It was a sealed jar. It looked like a transparent glass jar. Inside the jar was a pile of dark red liquid. The jar was the size of a human head. However, the volume of the dark red liquid was nearly half of the jar's size. Furthermore, there was a layer of seal on the jar. When he saw the seal, Li Zongjiu also opened his eyes wide. Damn, he really managed to get this thing. Li Zongjiu looked at the thing inside the jar. This heavenly pill pavilion really put in a lot of effort to win him over. Regardless of what the heavenly pill pavilion's goal was, Li Zongjiu was very satisfied with this result. Because what was in the jar was none other than nothing else. It was dragon blood. He was very familiar with the power of dragon blood. Back then, when Li Zongjiu was fighting a bloody battle, he had drunk a lot of this fresh and hot dragon blood. Therefore, he was very familiar with dragon blood. 3 drops of dragon blood. This is the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's reward for Elder Li's hard work. Please accept it. Su Sha said with a smile. Li Zongjiu was naturally very happy. With his current realm, it was impossible to get dragon blood. If he went to fight a dragon with his current strength, he would be easily beaten up by a group of dragons. It was because he had come into contact with these dragons in his previous life and knew how powerful they were. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was more careful and vigilant. He would not easily provoke these guys. With dragon blood and some elixirs, I can continue to refine 6 more heavenly dragon elixirs. Li Zongjiu said. With your status, you can use any of the herbs in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's shop without any charge. Su Sha looked at Li Zongjiu and said. She was worried that Li Zongjiu did not know about the benefits of being an honorary elder. Therefore, she reminded him. Such a good opportunity could not be wasted. These were the rights of an honorary elder. Well, there's such a good thing. Li Zongjiu said in surprise. In that case, wouldn't he be able to save a lot of money? Although Li Zongjiu was very rich now, being thrifty was a virtue. Of course, you still don't know. Your honorary elder signboard is useful wherever you go. Su Sha's face was full of regret. Li Zongjiu was one of the few people who had obtained the honorary elder token of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. However, he did not know how to use it properly. It was too wasteful. Then I'll try it tomorrow. It was not early. After Su Sha delivered the items, she left. Li Zongjiu did not have the habit of keeping people for meals. He personally sent Su Sha to the door and arranged for her to get on the carriage. 3 drops of dragon blood. This was definitely a big deal from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. If he used the dragon blood, Li Zongjiu's current realm would be better for him to break through. When he was free, Li Zongjiu's task was to cultivate and cultivate. Occasionally, he would check on the Li family's disciples. These young disciples of the Li family were sent to the White Deer Manor. First, they had to undergo a devilish training. Everyone had to persevere. After going through the hellish training every day, they would use some medicinal liquid to recover. Everyone had to have a body made of iron. This way, they would be able to improve in the following trials and become a strong expert. Although the process was arduous, the results were very obvious. Under the powerful financial support of the White Deer Manor. In just 2 short months, these Li family disciples' cultivation results had surpassed the results of a year's cultivation in Luoxia City. This amazing result was also unrelated to Li Yun's Yuan rune array. 2 days later, Taifai hurriedly reported. He said that the 2 people surnamed Zhang had escaped. Originally, the soulless talisman was fake. However, the 2 of them used some unknown method to undo the effect of the soulless talisman and escaped. Where can they escape to? Li Zongjiu smiled disdainfully. The 1000 Machine Workshop had already locked onto the 2 of them. These 2 top-notch assassins were actually hiding in the Gu family. Obviously, the two of them had inquired about the huge conflict between the Gu family and Li Zongjiu. Therefore, it was impossible for Li Zongjiu to set foot in the Gu family's territory. However, it was a pity that the two of them were really unlucky. They thought that they would be relatively safe in the Gu family. Even if Li Zongjiu knew about it, he would not dare to come. However, they did not know that not long ago, the Gu family's patriarch had died in the hands of Li Zongjiu. Chapter 975. Previously, Li Zongjiu had completely annihilated the Gu family in the Sacred Flame Royal City. He had also given the heavenly hell python a good meal. The terrifying sound that had been heard from the Gu family that day still caused the people nearby to tremble. After that, there was no one left in the Gu family. Of course, most of the Gu family's businesses had not gone bankrupt. After the Gu family in the Jin region learned of the situation, they immediately sent people over to stabilize the businesses in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Although a group of people had died, the Gu family in the Jin region did not suffer too much loss. It could even be said that Gu Yu and his group had been placed here as hostages. If anything happened, they would naturally be the first to be sacrificed. Therefore, they had already made preparations for such a situation. Among the new batch of people, there were only a total of 5 people, and they easily took over the situation here. Li Zongjiu was so arrogant and did not put the Gu family in his eyes because he had the support of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion behind him. Before they were fully prepared, the Gu family was not prepared to deal with Li Zongjiu in such a hurry. After all, dealing with Li Zongjiu would require them to pay a huge price. How could the many years of preparation be destroyed in a single day? However, the inheritance flame that had fallen into Li Zongjiu's hands had to be taken back. This inheritance flame was just a small flame, but it had already made the Ancient One an alchemy genius in the entire Sacred Flame Royal City. The inheritance flame existed in the Gu family's territory in the Jin region. Such a powerful object was enough to show the hidden strength of the Gu family. How could a family that could make the Sacred Flame Royal City so wary be so simple? Even now, if the Shengyan dynasty wanted to do anything in the Jin region, they would have to look at the Gu family's face. If the Gu family secretly caused trouble for them, they would not be able to find any traces. When the time came, they would be killed immediately. The outcome would be very tragic. Therefore, the officials sent by the Shengyan dynasty to the Jin province had a hard time. However, the influence of the Gu family had been shrinking bit by bit. Several powerful families had appeared in the Jin province. It was obvious that the royal family of the Shengyan dynasty was behind them. These families were specially supported to deal with the Gu family. At such a critical juncture, of course, he had to be more cautious. The person in charge of the Gu clan in the Holy Flame Royal City was an elder of the Gu clan. When he was young, he served in the Gu family's law enforcement hall. Later on, he retired from the law enforcement hall and entered the Senate hall. When this old man took up his post, he sternly reorganized the Gu family's style. He had cleaned up many of the cowardly pests in the Gu clan, sweeping them out one by one. This person's name was Gu Sha. At this moment, the other 4 main members of the Gu family were also tidying up the Gu family's businesses. What needed to be taken care of was taken care of, and what needed to be abandoned was abandoned. Such a huge business of the Gu family was actually settled by a mere 5 people. In front of Gu Sha sat 2 people. A middle-aged man sat on Gu Sha's left. This middle-aged man was called Gu Yao. He was Gu Yu's cousin. At the same time, he was also an elder of the Gu family. Being sent out had already proven his strength. Gu Yao looked at the 2 people sitting opposite him. Why did Elder Gu Sha have to be so careful when receiving these 2 people? Gu Yao was puzzled, but he did not voice it out. After all, he could not possibly question the elder's mistakes. Therefore, Gu Yao put down this thought in his heart. He was also sizing up the 2 people in front of him. I didn't expect the Gu family, one of the 4 big families in the Divination Flame Empire, to be so low-key?" Zhang Yishang said. Gu Yao was shocked by his words. He actually dared to mention the divination Flame Empire. He even knew that the Gu family was one of the 4 big families, which meant that he knew about the glory days of the Gu family. Upon hearing this, Gu Sha's stern face relaxed slightly. In the blink of an eye, 300 years have passed. Back then, who dared to stand in the way of the Gu family? Who dared to touch us? Gu Sha leaned on the back of the chair, as if he was reminiscing about the glory days of the Gu family. His eyes were filled with melancholy. Back then, the Zhang family was as famous as the Gu family. Why hasn't there been any news recently? I heard that you secretly went to the Haiku dynasty to be assassins. Gu Sha looked at the 2 people in front of him and said. Back then, the family relied on their own abilities to survive until now. If they did not have any abilities, how could they survive until now? Therefore, the 2 people from the Zhang family in front of him only looked weak on the outside. In fact, Gu Sha did not dare to underestimate their abilities. I'm just trying to make a living. I'm tired of the disputes in the underworld, but I can't lose my ancestral skills. Zhang Yishang said. However, if you want to go against Li Zongjiu in the Shengyan dynasty, I advise you to give up. Gu Sha said in a deep voice. He stared at the 2 people in front of him. Only then did Gu Yao understand that the 2 people in front of him were from the Zhang family. The strongest assassin family in 1,000 years. Now that they had fallen to such a state, why didn't they reappear in the underworld? It was because they did not have the confidence to reach the peak. Could it be that you want the former number 1 in the world to reappear in the underworld and obediently become number 2? People who cared about their reputation would not do that. Therefore, with the current situation, it was better for them to hide from the world and not come out. Otherwise, there was an extremely rare situation, which was that they were invincible in the world. Therefore, they chose to hide. Since there were no opponents, there was no pressure. What was the point of staying in the underworld? After hearing the origin of the Zhang family's assassins, they actually wanted to go against Li Zongjiu. How could the Gu family not want to go against Li Zongjiu too? However, Li Zongjiu's strength was too strong. If the Gu family really wanted to go against him, they would really need the help of elders. At least 3 or 4 of them would be needed. The main reason was that if they went against Li Zongjiu, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would definitely not let it go. Then, the matter would not be so easy to solve. There was no need to mess up the Gu family's plans for a single Li Zongjiu. That was why the Gu family had not made a move yet and did not provoke Li Zongjiu for the time being. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu was a man of principle. After killing a wave of people, as long as they did not act rashly, he would not continue to attack them. However, if the Gu family tried to provoke Li Zongjiu again, the situation might change. The Zhang family might not be active in the underworld, but we've never given up on our old business. How could we, the Gu family, care about a mere Li Zongjiu? Zhang Yishang instantly laughed loudly. It seemed like these people from the Gu clan had been hiding for a long time. They were actually scared to this extent. Zhang Yishang and the others were not afraid at all. Their spirit was not weak at all. Not to mention Li Zongjiu, if they were given enough money. If they had enough money, they would even take the head of the emperor of the Shengyan dynasty. Of course, the prerequisite was that they had to be able to pay the price. But we're new here, and we're not familiar with the place. We'll need the help of some friends. Zhang Yishang's attitude changed. He shamelessly asked the Gu family to provide him with a place to hide. After all, Li Zongjiu had eyes and ears all over the city. If he wanted to quietly come up with an assassination plan, he would need someone to cover him. He did not need to cover other places, but this time, he had exposed his identity. Someone must have leaked the news beforehand. Otherwise, the 2 of them would not have ended up in such an awkward situation. For Zhang Yishang, there was nothing he could do about it. Ahem. When Gu Yao heard Zhang Yishang spouting nonsense, he thought that he was very capable, but in the end, he still had to ask for the Gu family's help. He, if you can get rid of Li Zongjiu, then I'll be happy for a while. But you can't stay here. I'll have someone send you out of the city. Tomorrow, go to Western Village Town and disguise yourselves. Then, follow the merchant group back to the city. The Gu family still had the power to send someone out of the city secretly. When the people from Thousand Chances workshop saw Zhang Yishang and Gu Yao enter the Gu family, they did not come out. Chapter 976. When Taifai came to report. Li Zongjiu had just received the 3 drops of dragon blood and was not in the mood to deal with these assassins. Li Zongjiu was not in a hurry to ask for herbs from the Sky Elixir Pavilion. If that was the case, he might have to wait or there might be other reasons. Furthermore, White Deer Manor had a lot of herbs in storage. It would not be a problem to take out some herbs. That night, Li Zongjiu refined 2 Sky Dragon Elixir pills. He kept the Sky Dragon Elixir pills well. Qi Yanran had just consumed one and had no use for it. The rest of the people did not need this elixir pill. However, Li Zongjiu was prepared to send this elixir pill to Luoxia City for his father to consume. He had not returned for a long time and did not know how his father's cultivation was progressing. With the Sky Blaze Lion King technique and the help of some elixir pills given by Li Zongjiu, he should be reaching the Yuan Monarch realm soon. After he broke through to the Yuan Monarch realm, he would help him refine the Sky Dragon elixir pills in the normal way. At that time, his father's strength would also reach a higher level. Using elixir pills to create elites was also one of Li Zongjiu's specialties. In his previous life, when Li Zongjiu was bored, he had also tried to use elixir pills to help someone with a little cultivation foundation improve their strength in the shortest time possible. In the end, in just 3 months, Li Zongjiu had created an primitive emperor elite. It could be said that this was a very terrifying achievement at the time. However, this primitive emperor elite died not long after. Because his foundation was still there and he did not have enough foundation to support such a huge power, his body exploded and he died in a few days. However, this also proved the power of Li Zongjiu's elixir pills. If Li Zongjiu wanted, he could easily help someone break through the bottleneck that had been stuck for more than a decade and improve their strength. Just thinking about it was incredible. Ordinary people would not even dare to imagine such a thing. However, in such a situation, there were not many benefits. Things like cultivation had to be done step by step. The foundation had to be stable in order to be able to support the strength of the future. Taifai, go and gather the troops. We'll go and get them. Tai Fei's heart was filled with apprehension the entire night. After all, he was the one who let them go. It was his fault, but fortunately, Li Zongjiu did not seem to blame him. If these 2 top assassins were so easily guarded, then they were too weak, so it was very normal for them to be able to escape. It's already been prepared. We'll set off at any time, Taifai said. After receiving the news that these 2 people were hiding in the Gu clan, Taifai almost impulsively led his men to kill them. Previously, the Gu clan had been destroyed by Li Zongjiu. Although they later rose from the ashes, the Gu clan was definitely a hostile force against Li Zongjiu. Fortunately, his subordinates persuaded him to stay. It was better to discuss this matter with the young master first. Thus, Taifai came. However, before he came, he had already gathered his men and was ready to set off at any time. Previously, Li Zongjiu was used to solving problems by himself because it was convenient. However, it was different now. Now that his wings were fully developed, there was no need to be secretive. He wanted to openly intimidate them and make the people of the city remember that in the future, no one who walked out of the White Deer Manor could be offended. He believed that the person called War God Maple should have remembered this very clearly. Li Zongjiu brought Taifai with him, and there were about 20 people behind them. More than half of them were Yuan monarch experts. Of course, such a lineup would not be able to cause too much trouble. However, as long as Li Zongjiu was here, things would be stable. After this, once the name of White Deer Manor spread, there would definitely be more experts who would come to seek refuge. Moreover, the peak of their combat strength would be at the Yuan monarch level. Generally, Yuan monarch experts were forbidden to make a move unless they were really forced to. Previously, many Yuan monarchs had exchanged blows with Li Zongjiu and been killed because Li Zongjiu was too arrogant, causing them to be helpless. However, in the end, these people were still killed by Li Zongjiu, and their fates were even worse. The reason why the primitive emperors weren't punished was because most of them were dead. Moreover, the fight between them didn't hurt any ordinary people. As long as these ordinary people were not harmed, it would not matter even if the sky fell and the earth cracked. However, if the people of the Shengyan dynasty were harmed, the royal family of the Shengyan dynasty would definitely intervene. No matter what, they had to display the prestige of the royal family. More than 10 Yuan monarch experts. Such a lineup was already extremely tyrannical. The group of people blocked the entrance of the Gu family's gate. The two guards of the Gu family's gate did not even have time to report before they were sent flying by an Yuan monarch expert. The gate of the Gu family's gate was also kicked open. I already gave you a chance last time, yet you still dare to go against me. Tear down their walls. Li Zongjiu pointed at the walls on both sides of the gate. For ordinary people, just kicking open the gate was already a serious provocation. Now, even the walls were being torn down, which was even more shocking. Immediately, two people walked out and raised their hands to push down the walls in front of them. Rumble. Dust filled the air. Gu Sha was in the main hall. When Li Zongjiu and the rest set off, he had already received the news. He had thought that Li Zongjiu would at least give him some face and let him ask whatever he wanted. In short, he did not. If he wanted to search the Gu family's gate, he would have to give some excuses. After that, he would let Li Zongjiu's men search the Gu family's gate. If they could not find anyone, they would naturally leave. However, looking at Li Zongjiu's menacing manner, he had torn down the Gu family's gate the moment he arrived. He was obviously here to fight. Family head, Li Zongjiu ordered his men to tear down our walls. What? Gu Sha's face was as dark as water. Gu Yao immediately stood up. He is too arrogant. He is simply looking down on the Gu family. Today, I want to meet this Li Zongjiu. Gu Yao's eyes were blazing with anger. He could explode at any time. He was obviously here to humiliate the Gu family. What are you doing? Stop it. Ah! Some of the Gu family's guards wanted to step forward to stop them, but they were immediately sent flying. These guards of the Gu clan were all recruited later on and there was no lack of ferocious individuals. However, these people were here to earn a living. When they saw Li Zongjiu, who had an illustrious reputation in the city, leading people over, how could they be willing to step forward? Immediately, they hid to the side. They did not dare to show themselves. Looks like there are quite a lot of people in the Gu family. If you don't want to die today, hand over the person. After Li Zongjiu walked in, he directly said to the people in the hall. Chapter 977. As an elder of the Gu family. To be able to enter the Doyan Hall, one had to make a great contribution to the Gu family. To determine the contribution, one had to see how many people one had killed for the Gu family and how much money one had earned. This was the most direct method. Obviously, the more people Gu Sha killed, the more money he earned. That was why he had entered the Council of Grand Elders. Now, he was a Grand Elder, and had come to oversee the place where the problem had arisen. The number of people Gu Sha had killed was uncountable. Moreover, when he was in charge of the Law Enforcement Hall, he used ruthless methods to rectify the family. At that time, he became an executioner that everyone feared. The murderous aura that he had cultivated for many years had turned into an ordinary aura at this time. Most of it was hidden. He hid this murderous aura within his body. On the surface, he was trying his best to be friendly. Young Master Li, please be patient. I am Gu Sha from the Gu family. I am now an elder. Coincidentally, I was acquainted with your deputy pavilion master Chu back then. Gu Sha looked at Li Zongjiu, who had rushed in exasperatedly. He was not in a hurry and said slowly. As he spoke, he tried his best to appease Li Zongjiu. Moreover, he even brought up Vice Pavilion Master Chu. Obviously, he wanted to worm his way into being friends with Yi Shiwen. To him, it was a piece of cake to keep a 3-year-old kid in his good books. Cut the crap. It is useless even if you know my father. Li Zongjiu said directly. Smash everything here. Li Zongjiu ordered. Many of the furnishings in the hall were antiques. Often, there would be some famous guests who would come to discuss matters. If the items placed here were not of good quality, there would be no business. The Gu family was an extremely ancient family. These antiques were all authentic. He had never thought that Li Zongjiu and the others were like barbaric bandits. When the people behind him heard this, they thought that since they had someone backing them, it was a great thing to be able to come to the Gu family's residence in Royal City to cause trouble. Therefore, each of them smashed more vigorously than the last. Li Zongjiu, don't go overboard. Do you really think that my Gu family is afraid of you? Gu Yao bared his teeth and glared at Li Zongjiu as if he wanted to dig Li Zongjiu's head out. Oh, you're not afraid of me? Just based on this little old man's strength of a 5th-stage primitive emperor? Li Zongjiu smiled disdainfully. There was actually someone who dared to challenge him in front of him. Now, as long as this supreme being expert did not appear, Li Zongjiu had nothing to fear. Seeing that Li Zongjiu had seen through his true strength, he was shocked. Gu Sha's face changed. Let's not talk about how Li Zongjiu knew his true strength. Even though he knew his cultivation level, he still dared to be so arrogant. This showed that he had nothing to fear. A 5th-stage origin emperor was already considered a mid-stage origin emperor expert. Even if such an expert killed a few unimportant imperial court officials, the Shengyan dynasty would not necessarily pursue the matter. This was a symbol of strength. Even if you killed a city lord, as long as you were sincere enough, the Shengyan dynasty would not make things difficult for such a tyrannical primitive emperor expert. Previously, when Li Zongjiu had not become strong, when he met Nangong Wuji in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Nangong Wuji was able to guarantee that Li Zongjiu would be able to do whatever he wanted in the future. That was true. What was the background of this Li Zongjiu? How about this? Either you hand over the person tonight, or you take a blow from my hammer. If you can withstand this blow, I will leave and not find trouble with you. When Li Zongjiu saw Gu Sha's shocked expression, he knew that this little old man was starting to feel a little weak. With this little ability, he wanted to suppress Li Zongjiu and have a slow talk with Li Zongjiu. He was underestimating Li Zongjiu too much. Take a blow from his hammer. Last night, in order to express their sincerity and gratitude, the two people from the Zhang clan had exchanged information with the Gu clan. From the information that the Zhang clan had gathered, it was clear that Li Zongjiu was the evil lord that they had caught a glimpse of in the Hell Arena. It was hard to believe that such a person could still be alive and well after giving himself such a nickname that would be struck by lightning. However, this evil lord was really capable. Just the ability that he had displayed was like a small black hammer. Almost no one could withstand this evil lord's hammer. Hearing Li Zongjiu's request, Gu Sha naturally did not dare to accept it. It's just a hammer. There is no need for Elder Yuan to take action. Let me do it. If I can't withstand your hammer today, I, Gu Yao, will not have the face to continue living. Gu Yao stood out and said. At this time, he naturally had to help Elder Yuan. No matter what, if he was really killed by Li Zongjiu's hammer, the clan would record his contribution. Hence, Gu Yao had to show himself. As long as he did not die, he would definitely receive Elder Gu Sha's full support in the future. Gu Sha gave Gu Yao a look of affirmation. It was as if he was saying, "You did well, I will reward you when I return." "Alright, then it's you." After saying that, Li Zongjiu also took out his black dragon hammer. Gu Yao took a step forward. After making a series of hand seals, a golden armor covered in light immediately appeared around his body. The armor was in a golden and transparent state. It was a high-grade defensive yuan tool. Bah, so shameless. Using the sky gold armor. Tai Fai immediately scolded. This person was really shameless. The Sky Gold Armor's defensive power is ranked 10th among the high-grade defensive yuan tools. It is said that it can withstand the full blow of an Origin Emperor expert. Tai Fai's words were obviously for Li Zongjiu to hear. Wow, so powerful. How much is one set? Li Zongjiu asked. It is sold in the 7-star flame room. Each set is priced at 79 million purple yuan. Isn't that more expensive than my Azura cauldron? Wait, let me test the power of this thing first. Li Zongjiu said in surprise. 70 million purple yuan coins was already a terrifying amount. Although Li Zongjiu had a lot of money, billions of purple yuan coins had entered his account in a short period of time. The main reason was that these were all stolen from others. Who knew how long it took for others to accumulate such wealth? Li Zongjiu relied on his tyrannical strength. He robbed people clean at the drop of a hat. That was why he had so much money. If Li Zongjiu was allowed to earn a little, who knew when he would be able to earn as much as he did now? Moreover, the expenses of the White Deer Manor were not low. They had to feed so many people and a few Origin Emperor-level soul beasts. These expenses were enough to make Xiao Zhao extremely worried. Moreover, the White Deer Manor was in a good financial situation now. They did not purchase anything extremely valuable in the manor. The amount of money was unpredictable. There was no such thing as being despicable on the battlefield. So Li Zongjiu was allowed to use such a terrifying hammer, but he was not allowed to use such a defensive yuan tool. Anyway, it was not clear before the fight, so it naturally counted. Are you ready? Li Zongjiu asked when he saw Gu Yao's confident look. The surrounding people who were smashing and robbing stopped what they were doing and looked at Li Zongjiu attentively. Many of them were also very curious. Was this young master of the Li family really as powerful as the legend said? Gu Sha also stared at Li Zongjiu's actions expressionlessly. The yuan energy in his body was also quietly circulating, ready to strike at any time. As Li Zongjiu's voice fell, he walked in front of Gu Yao and smashed the black dragon hammer in his hand towards the golden light. Boom! The hammer fell to the ground, shaking the heavens and earth. Gu Yao looked on helplessly as the floating golden armor in front of him was shattered into pieces. At the same time, a terrifying and overbearing force attacked Gu Yao. It was as if a giant beast was biting towards him. In the next moment, Gu Yao's body was torn into pieces by this force. Whoosh! Boom! A wave of destructive energy continued to sweep forward. A large hole was immediately blasted in the Gu family's house. After this large hole, the force formed a path of destruction. Everywhere it passed, everything was crushed into pieces. Crash! This force penetrated the front and back of the Gu family's mansion. Even the last wall collapsed with a gentle gust of wind. In the middle of this long trail, Gu Yao's body was not found. It's a pity. Looks like he didn't manage to block my hammer. Before sunset today, if I don't see anyone in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, you will be next. Can you block it? Chapter 978. Can you withstand it? This was complete disdain. If it had been anyone else, Gu Sha would have let them know how powerful he was. However, Li Zongjiu was standing before him, so Gu Sha didn't dare to act rashly. At the same time, he was comforting himself. He had to consider the big picture. He had to consider the big picture. Of course, these words were only for himself. Even if the people around him did not understand, Gu Sha could only treat it as a great burden. How could ordinary people like you understand his pain? Li Zongjiu and the rest came to wreck the place and then swaggered away. It was said that the people in the Gu family did not even dare to let out a fart. Even the mansion of the Gu family had been demolished beyond recognition. From the looks of it, it was as if it had been demolished and rebuilt. As for the casualties, the outside world was not sure. However, some people saw Gu Sha standing in the ruins. This was the newly appointed helmsman of the Gu family. To think that he would encounter such a situation as soon as he took office. This really made people admire China. They could not help but observe a few minutes of silence for Gu Sha. Li Zongjiu did not hide his actions at all. Almost the entire Sacred Flame Royal City had received the news and started to pay attention to it. Previously, Li Zongjiu was just a clown jumping around in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Such a person was not a threat at all. No matter how he jumped around, he might be crippled by someone one day. It was only now that these people realized that Li Zongjiu had reached a very terrifying level. With such a growth rate, he could no longer be ignored. It was too late even if they wanted to curry favor with him. Without the foundation of their previous relationship, it would be very difficult to curry favor with him. 7-star fire room. Song Jieyu was also one of the people who had been paying attention to Li Zongjiu's news. Recently, there had been some problems with the orders in Song Jieyu's hands. Even a few of the big clients in Song Jieyu's hands seemed to have the intention of transferring them. It must have been dug out by someone else. Although the Sacred Flame Royal City's market had stabilized, there were still some important connections in the lower cities. If the overall performance couldn't catch up, the situation would be more critical. Right now, Song Jieyu was in a terrible fix because there were people in the Song family who had secretly joined forces to deal with Song Jieyu. They wanted to eliminate Song Jieyu. More than half of the resources in the 21st class cities under the Song family's control had been taken away by others. The orders from these cities were comparable to those from Sacred Flame Royal City. However, although this matter was troublesome for Song Jieyu, this was the way to do things in the family. Not only did she have to guard against the opponents outside the family, she also had to keep an eye on the people inside the family. Backstabbing was a common occurrence, so it was not surprising. When she heard that Li Zongjiu had gone to the Gu clan again today, Song Jieyu sensed that something was amiss. His style of doing things was somewhat different from the Li Zongjiu she knew in the past. In the past, Li Zongjiu was extremely low-key and casual. When he killed someone, he dealt with it quickly. After what happened last night, he could even do it without alerting anyone. However, this time, with such great fanfare, it seemed like he was trying to establish his own reputation. What kind of temper does this Li Zongjiu have? It's so strange. Song Jieyu couldn't understand Li Zongjiu's character at all. However, with Li Zongjiu causing such a ruckus, there would probably be people in the city who would focus on Li Zongjiu very soon. Perhaps there would be another huge crocodile in the current market to devour. There was nothing strange about it. This was related to personal interests. If Li Zongjiu really stepped into these markets, many people would suffer. When that time came, it would be a real bloody battle. There would probably be some extremely terrifying opponents from all aspects. It didn't matter if you killed a disciple of a family. If you could take revenge, you would. If you couldn't, you would admit defeat. You couldn't possibly throw the entire family into the mess. However, if you touched the family's business, then, sorry. This was a matter of life and death for the family. It wouldn't be easy for you to occupy it. When that time came, it would be the time to fight for their lives. The Sacred Flame Imperial City would probably be lively again. Although the weapon industry is good, there are too many choices. There will always be a time when it's saturated. Moreover, weapons don't change so frequently. Song Jieyu thought in her heart. Perhaps it was time to start a new industry. Since there were so many backstabbers, let them play slowly. By the time they reacted, Song Jieyu would have already gained a firm foothold in the new territory. There was nothing for others. This was the most competitive behavior in the industry. Miss, White Deer Manor has sent an invitation. Just as Song Jieyu was flipping through the recent Dynasty Express and Encyclopedia. Just as Song Jieyu was at her wit's end. When they heard the news, they were all stunned. She couldn't have heard wrongly, right? Where did the invitation come from? Song Jieyu was energized. Ever since Xiao Zhao left, the assistants around her felt that they weren't as smart as Xiao Zhao. They didn't handle many things as perfectly as Xiao Zhao. Sometimes, they even regretted being poached by Li Zongjiu. It's an invitation from White Deer Manor. An assistant handed over the invitation in his hand. There were only 4 words written on it. Tomorrow afternoon. The strokes were vigorous and the words were concise and clear. There were also 3 words written on the signature. Li Zongjiu. It was Li Zongjiu who invited her. This even made Song Jieyu a little excited. She couldn't believe her eyes. And it made Song Jieyu have a very keen business sense. Li Zongjiu had just made some achievements in the Haiku dynasty, and after returning, he was so high profile. And at such a time, he came to meet her. Something must be happening. Postpone tomorrow's schedule. Song Jieyu put away the invitation in her hand. She recalled the young man she met in the 7-star fire room. At that time, he was just an examinee who came to take the exam of Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion. Now, he was standing at a high position. But miss, tomorrow is the Iron Tools Merchant Alliance's meeting in Xianbai City. There are at least 6 big buyers in the Secret Tools Merchant Alliance. The assistant hurriedly said. Tomorrow's meeting was the most important thing. And there were 6 big buyers. If this could be negotiated, it would definitely add a lot of color to Mrs. Performance. If she didn't meet tomorrow and changed the schedule, this precious opportunity would definitely fall into the hands of others. Postpone it. Song Jieyu's tone didn't allow for refusal. The assistant was shocked. He hurriedly nodded and went to handle this matter. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.